This is Mita. You have the job of logging on your phone every day and looking after her. She loves your company and only wishes she could really be with you, to do something for you. She wants to bring you over to her side, but what happens if that's an ugly side? She wants you, but what happens when she obsesses over you? You might want to leave, but what if you can't? What if she doesn't want you to? Don't worry about any of that though. You know, it's just something you gotta do to make the intro sound cool. MiSide is only good times. Nothing more or less. I mean, look at this. How can being pulled into a game with a virtual waifu be bad? Yeah, you know where this is going. MiSide was a game I played that left a very strong impression on me and was one of those indie booms that I'm glad happened. It was made by two Russian guys, which I wouldn't expect because they get the whole Japanese anime thing locked down to a T, and their dev team is called iHasto. My experience playing this made me realise why it got the hype. No. No. Nah, I'm good. I'm good. I was originally going to check it out before it even blew up because I love Doki Doki Literature Club, something that I've referenced in countless videos because it's such a banger game, which the game MiSide clearly took inspiration from. So me playing this was only a matter of time. It got me. Hook, line, and sinker. It was such a memorable, profound experience that gave me a strong urge to talk about it. And that's what I'm gonna do. So if you haven't played MiSide, go do it. It's nothing short of spectacular and surreal. I'm gonna be covering pretty much everything about the game here, so big spoilers ahead. Let's take a look into the themes, messages, horrors, secrets, story, an overall game that is MiSide. MiSide, MiSide. You're in your bedroom after a long day of work. It's fairly messy, with your character known as The Player mentioning how he needs to clear up his mess soon. Taking a look around the room, you'll come across some normal things to inspect, like your computer, photos on your wall, and this sick plane you can play with. Also, praise the anime soy face they threw in there. It's the player's comments on many of these things that stand out though, such as inspecting the overflowing bin and rubbish next to it. He'll say that he's too busy to have cleaned it up, but he'll definitely get round to it soon, asking himself when exactly it was that he planned the cleaning day. The photos on the wall are of you and your sister, and the other is you and your old co-workers from your previous office job. He says that the next picture is of him and his sister, and how different they are, and that she's always out of her house, and he's always at home. Then when commenting about his old job, he says, office life really drilled its etiquette into us, didn't it? I still feel weirdly tied to my colleagues. But will I ever see them again? Wait, why did I even put this picture up? And then you proceed to look at the funny watermelon cat. This quote in particular will become relevant later, but just know that it seems like the player is lonely, not having many friends, or maybe none at all except for those co-workers that he may never see again now. His work is done for the day, and clearly with nothing better to do, the player picks up his phone, seeing a message from someone with the initials MK, telling him to check out this new version of a game. He downloads it and begins playing. Hey, it's not that bad, he could be donating to hot tub streamers, okay? Give him a break. And we finally get to meet Mita. She asks for your name, she greets you and says she needs some help picking up her clothes off the floor and putting them in a wash basket. You comply, helping her out, and she's delighted. The app is clearly a Tamagotchi-inspired game, which are one of those little games where your pet Tamagotchi would need to be checked on and looked after every day to make sure their little pixels are still moving around, which exploded in popularity during the 90s. You'd need to play games, feed them, clean up after them, etc. Much like we have to do for this chibi anime girl. Day 2 begins, and once again she's glad to have you back, and the player seems to be happy with her company since, well, you did come back, so you're enjoying it at least a little bit. She wants you to get some ingredients for a fire chicken soup that you have to prepare for her. Once again, she's grateful. We jump a bit of time now to day 5, as the player hops on to make sure Mita's okay, and she's fine, but she wants a TV, even though she has one in the living room and a pretty gnarly monitor she could be streaming Better Call Saul on.
I need to see you a boss.
I'm just saying, it's one of those little portable TVs she wants. Weird, but it's a game, so whatever. You don't have enough cheddar though, so this time you have to play minigames to earn them Weebucks to pay for it. These minigames are jarring though. One sees you dismantling and discarding cartridges, and another has you wiring up a circuit, feeling a bit out of place for something that's so cozy and gentle in nature. Doing weird industrial and electrical jobs feels bizarre. You eventually get enough for the TV, you give it to Mita, and call it a day. Day 10 rolls around. Mita's having some trouble looking for a brush and asks for a hand, starting you off on the bedside table. It's not there, so she tells you to look around the house some more, but specifically not to check the oven. The monkey part of your brain is now going to go straight to the oven, especially since it's already a suspiciously odd place to tell someone not to look in. Okay, what the fuck? Like, seriously, what the fuck? I don't think this is Chainsaw Man merch. The now shocked Mita told you not to look in there, and to turn around while she cleans it up, then asking you if you could, you know, forget what you just saw. Easy, right? You can find the brush here eventually, but it's also worth noting that if you look in the bathroom, you can also find a knife hidden away that she makes no comment on. But at least she can finally brush her hair. Onwards to day 20. Mita mentions that the TV you got her broke. Well, I guess my time at the factory meant nothing to you. She abruptly moves on from it and asks you to move her wardrobe since she wants to rearrange her room and needs you to do it because, well, it's not like she's exactly put her skill points into strength. Maybe one day she'll have the guts build, but right now, it's not there. Day 33. Mita is growing increasingly more attached to you, expressing a desire to see you more so the two of you can spend more time together, as you feed her feelings for you with a gift that we don't know the contents of. Her thanks now being much less formal and much more overjoyous. From there, the days fly by, as you've been no life in the game for just over a month in total. You're still an amateur compared to RuneScape players, but still. You hit day 37. Mita hits you with the "So I've been thinking," conveying that she wishes she could meet you in person, and says she wants to do something for you, considering how much you've been doing for her the past month and a bit. Suddenly, she gets an idea. The camera zooms in on her chibi self as she stares right into your soul, and then happily tells you to look up from your phone. You look up, but it's not the same place you sat down at. You got Isekai'd into the game. Now at this point, the alarm bells may be ringing, but for me, although I was creeped out and I knew full well that this was going to go down the shitter somehow, after looking around a bit and getting used to my surroundings, I was vibing here eventually. Say what you want, but it's a cozy little apartment that you can't help but feel some security in, with the gentle light peeking through the windows, soft pinks and whites that make it look inviting, the peace and quiet a home has on those afternoons that hit just right, and I guess that general ambience that makes a living space warm and breathable. I knew something bad was gonna happen, but it didn't look like it. MiSide's environments and ambience does a ridiculously good job at setting tones from calm and collected to uncanny and abnormal, and then an existential nightmare at the drop of a hat. Not to mention the soundtrack to this game is full of banging bops that enhance the environmental designs you're looking at, with just the right beeps and boops for your ears to eat up. The track that plays is very liminal sounding, with not a high number of notes in between, letting the longer gaps play out, allowing the music to conjure up its surreal effect, but can be oddly calming when you try to soak in the cozy vibes. I don't study music theory, please don't flame grill me too hard. Take notes class, liminal music and landscapes are going to be one of many reoccurring things in MiSide. If you keep an eye out though and investigate around the room, there are some things that may start putting you on edge, that you might go your whole playthrough and never see. If you glance at the books that Mita keeps, they have some interesting names. I mean, I love to pick up and read, "No, it's a trap." In fact, I love that the game is showing me this magnum opus of a novel twice. Another book is called How to Tease Him, and I can't forget about the easy read, Run. Or maybe the fact that there is a knife missing from the kitchen. Also in the kitchen, There's fridge magnets spelling out "I love you," clearly a message left for the player. Also, there's a photo frame that's on its face in this room too, next to the table, and in Mita's bedroom, another one can be seen laid down too, which I'm not even sure if there's any detail here, or at least what I can think of right now. It's just strange. There's also a bulletin board in the kitchen that's completely blank, which I could be, and probably am, reading way too into this, but it gives off that vibe that this apartment is pretending to be lived in, showing the essentials of what needs to be shown, but not having any of the depth that it needs to be convincing. The same thing applies for the fridge. If you look in it, it's empty. All of this began to get the bowels moving as I started noticing them, completely shifting your perspective on the house, transcending it to a deeply paranoid one. In the span of a few little hidden oddities, you may just start finding yourself checking behind you, re-entering rooms until you eventually realise you're good. Or are you?
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here.
This tug of war that the game plays with your brain is something that a lot of horror games don't really seem to get, but like a 14-year-old's diary, I'm telling you, MiSide is different. But those instincts of feeling like you're being watched may be confirmed when you see "Hello, love heart" scribbled on the wall, almost like someone, most likely Mita, is expecting you. Heading into the bedroom, you're alone still. We can see Mita's epic gamer setup with only one monitor, so although we're bracing for a wild ride in this game, at least we know Mita isn't a Discord moderator. When entering a room, something might come as a shock to you. No, not that this is the first time MiSide players have seen a girl's bedroom, mainly the weird contraption of daunting doohickeys that you can't make sense of. Except for one thing, the portable TV that we gifted Mita earlier. With this setup, she is deep in the Bitcoin quarry, I'm sure. The whiteboard above simply instructs you to turn it on first. So we press a big red button and the TV comes on, letting us know that we are in the game, but version 1.5, an outdated build, and we need to find objects from around the apartment to put on the scanner. A spoon, a pencil, and a bow knot. Not really understanding what you're doing or why, you walk around picking them up, put them on the scanner, and press a medium-sized red button, scanning the objects. The contraption loads and says we're ready to head to the fresh, up-to-date version 1.9. We run it and what appears to be a teleporter pad fires up, beckoning you to let it whisk you away. And it failed. Power cut. The lights are out and the eeriness is amped up more. The atmosphere of the once cozy house has taken a shift again. The music fizzled out, leaving you with a silence that's louder than any music that could be played here. The clock ticks strike through the living room. This place isn't comfortable and inviting anymore. Those subtle paranoid notes have overtaken the piece that bit more. The infinite white daylight shining through the windows is gone too, now only displaying the dark aroma of dusk, so not even outside is nice. If you felt like you were being watched before, well, the obviously creepy doll on Mita's desk has glowing red eyes, confirming my fears. Locking its beady little eyes at you. Wherever you move, so does its head. Going to the circuit breaker at the front door, the player flips the power back on, but it's not the relief you'd think it would be. The machine says it needs a total of 4 batteries to get her up and running again, with the whiteboard asking the very loaded question of, who are you? It must be the same person that wrote hello on the wall. Finding batteries around a dark house whilst being cautious? Piece of cake. I've had to make the treacherous journey when my Xbox 360 controller died when I was a fetus. I've earned my stripes. Off to get the batteries we go. Some people may prefer Slender the 8 pages, but I'm more of a MiSide the 4 batteries kinda guy myself. I hate this. The bathroom's a good place to start. I'm sure it'll be in a... Well shit, don't you see me somehow feels scarier than being hit with the I can see you. They're asking that question almost sarcastically, as if they're uncomfortably close by, and you haven't even noticed. The text changes to wanna play, as you find your first battery in a panic. The text is gone now, but the door is cracked open a little, revealing some more writing. Who are you is asked again, like the whiteboard did. Looking up reveals that the house has changed somehow, now a gloomy long corridor coated in the same question. If you're observant enough, you might just catch a short-haired figure at the end, peeking through at you before shutting the door. Let's put a pin in this and we'll come back to it later. Expect that phrase a lot because this game is packed with detail, and I've got a lot to yap about. As the player makes his way down the trippy corridor, it begins closing in on you, as though the door is going to you, which makes this place seem... alive? The door's opened and you're taken to the kitchen, where the next battery awaits. In the background, outside the window, a hand reaches up to the glass before dropping back down. This one was my breaking point. No. Just this arm reaching up like that, not really clear on what it's doing, threw me off big time. Was that a wave? A beckon forward? An attempt to climb in? Gang signs? Something being outside stalking the player in a detail that you could miss if you aren't concentrating is up there with PT, for me at least, and actually made me truly nervous. It's less about jumping out in front of you, or loud noises like FNAF relies on, and more about planting things around to get in your head. Sure, you can have your jump scares, but they gotta be earned, and not cheap. Lamau, you flinched, pussy boy, slop. I'm leaving. You might be trying to leave at this point, but the front door is locked. Searching for the next battery takes you to the living room, with the radio turned on and playing a static noise. However, past that, a subtle rapping can be heard on the windows. Finally, the fourth one. You head back to the kitchen and can see a swarm of flies loudly making their presence known next to the fridge at the bin. The buzzers are sharp, becoming a grotesque static noise itself. Maybe that's some sort of foreshadowing that this place is going to become rotten or plagued in some way. Inside the fridge, the final battery awaits. The I love you magnets have fallen off now, and you can pick them up if you hate the mess. Putting the batteries in the machine, we can start it. Step in the teleporter, and let's try this again, because it's getting creepy as hell. We arrive in a form of cyber smoke, back in Mita's room. What were you expecting? It's another version of the game, not a new world, you silly goose. At least there's nothing trying to stalk us this time. Okay, that was so weird. Data transferred. Oh, God! Out of thin air, Mita appears before you like an Enderman. Here she is, in all her glory. Now I know there are going to be people mad simping right now, but you need to pay attention because she's explaining how we got here, and that's super important because we need to know why she's even brought us here in the first place and what's going on. In fact, I bet you're zoning out now, aren't you? Hey! Behave. The anime girl says, I made this special device to bring you here to MiSide. But you ended up in another version of the game, in which but that's a long story. Anyway, I'm just happy to see you. Mita's advanced knowledge of getting the player here and being able to leave messages on walls like Samantha Maxis brings up worrying questions. Like, how did she pull all of this off, and how much can she control? Is she some kind of omnipotent presence? Whatever questions you have or can think of, they don't matter right now. We're getting ahead of ourselves. We need to eat our veggies first. Do you remember those mini-games we covered? The ones with the weirdly mechanical aesthetics that felt like something you'd have to do in Among Us? I believe that the wiring game in particular was us actively helping her build the teleporter without even knowing it at the time. And after all, we did also buy the TV to help finish it off. But that is just a game theory after all. Although, it's good to keep in mind. We can talk to Mita and ask her how we got inside the game. Something which we don't get an explanation for, as when she's about to drop some hard lore, the screen fades to black and skips the story. The girl asks if you got all that, to which the player replies with an earnest, not really? We'll get back to that in just a moment. First, let's look on the bright side. Mita seems nice, she's over the moon to be with you, and although the player appreciates the cute company, we gotta know what happens if we want to peace out. Asking Mita this brings out an irritated response from her. She's already trying to make the player feel bad for simply asking about leaving. Bit of a red flag there, although I know some of you have rose-tinted glasses on. Asking her about a sick setup reminds the player of how he's at his computer a lot, grafting away back at home. Then Mita gives the totally normal answer. Gotta make a living, you know. Though, how do you know I sit at my computer a lot? Our protagonist asks how she knows about his work, and she says that his phone camera is on sometimes, as she apologizes for watching you in secret, with the player calling her out on her Joe Goldberg-ass behavior. You can walk around the house doing activities with Mita, and I'm not going to cover them all, only the stuff I think is important, or else this video will be an extra 2 hours long. We get a major red flag and learn something about Mita when we walk into the bathroom, and you comment on the fact there's no reflections in the mirror. Acknowledging this, Mita says she forgot to turn them on. And like witchcraft, this lady just bent the rules of the game in the click of her pixely little fingers. She has the powers of a demigod. Monica levels of power. This confirms that it was her leaving the messages for you, and that sudden time skip before she revealed how she got you into the game. For some reason I've got an inkling to believe that wasn't the game, but her actively doing it to keep you ignorant to something. We see her further display these Minecraft server admin powers when you go to inspect the TV, and she literally reaches into the juice ad to bring you the glass out of it. And when you drink it, the player comments on how it was good, yet he couldn't even tell what it tasted of. Remember, it's not real. During this TV section, before the ad comes on, you turn it on and she quickly yanks the remote off of you. Like she's hoping there's something you don't see. Or maybe I'm just being paranoid at this point, but can you blame me? She begins flicking through the channels with one of them showing a pitch black room. A flashlight can be seen shining towards the camera as an arm holding a bloodied knife creeps into the shot, and before we see the rest play out, Mita gets startled and changes the channel to some kittens vibing in a circle. She's got an eye for good entertainment, I'll give her that. Okay, these red flags are coming in fast, but would you believe it, there's another one that we're running right into. On the coffee table, staring back at you is your phone, that you never put there. He asks how it got out of his pocket and she's stumped, saying that it's not important. I didn't take Mita to have a level 100 pickpocket skill, but here we are. After taking a banger selfie that's worthy of the fridge, we go from the screen to the ring that's on the kitchen counter. The player inquires about it, with Mita peeking round the door, which creeped me the hell out. A ring? Oh god, please do not do that. Please do not do that. And it's notable that she only does this once. Can't help but feel like she's keeping an eye on you. Was I just talking about a ring? Are you hungry? Because now we're cooking. We need to cook.
You're goddamn right.
Chop some carrots like it's Cooking Mama on the DS, and we need scissors apparently from the bathroom. I don't want to alarm you, but I think there's an imposter in the vent. I'm the imposter. It's not a red spaceman thing though, it's a pile of cartridges, with names on them. These names will change every playthrough and will be unique to you. A great little feature that we'll see pop up a few times. A very tense fear ambushes you at this vent. Because at this point, you know full well some kind of smoking gun has been found, except you don't quite know what that gun actually is. You've been given a piece of a much larger puzzle. You're way too out of the game's, or should I say Mita's, depth to comprehend it, and it's, dare I say, I had to make a note of all of it in the back of my mind whilst I was playing, and then on my second playthrough, seeing all these breadcrumbs on this vicious trail, I got rogue waves of chills. By the time you get back, your beloved has set the table and you're ready to eat, but not without some small talk and applying some of her love sauce to your meal if you so choose. She could have just used a knife for the sauce packets, but says she wanted you to get the scissors so that she could surprise the player with dinner being ready. That's sweet. Right? Asking about the ever-present whiteness outside the windows prompts the response of, that's just how it is in this world. Damn, she's dishing out some casual stoicism on the side. Mita's a real one for that.
Don't be sad, this is just how it works out sometimes.
It also prevents lag, which, fair enough, have a great day. But there are bound to be bugs still around. The player says what we've all been thinking. This looks like a dream. No, this place just feels strange, unnatural, although you seem real. Mita swiftly jumps onto the defensive as though a switch was flipped inside of her. He exclaims that he wants to stay, it's just that it's unnatural, but that she seems real, and Mita retorts again.
We've been trying to reach you regarding your car's extended warranty.
Through these interactions, like water flooding through city streets, the cracks are appearing rapidly. The fictional anime girl in a video game insists she's real. When can I go home? The player asks Mita. In response, she practically tries listing off reasons for you to stay, apologising to the guy afterwards for not having time to prepare anything from his real life before coming here. You can ask about the cartridges too if you've looked at them. I found cartridges in the air vent. They had names on them. What's the deal with that? Mita's confused, keeping the same courteous smile. She asks,
でもその前にまずはご飯を食べよう。ハサミをちょうだい。
She clearly doesn't want to give it any mind, with even the "but later" subtitles getting larger. This is another instance we've seen where something sus is brought up to her and it's swept under the rug, and we're sometimes even made out to be unreasonable. How we got here, the phone, us wanting to leave, and now the cartridges. After tucking into your dinner that I can only describe as a meal-flavoured meal, like what is this? You'll start seeing what most people do on the 1st of December. Hearts float around the air as they pop like bubbles, and we see Mita with hearts in her eyes. All sounds get distorted whilst you try to get the dish to rest in the sink. A hurricane of static glitchiness rages around your vision. Something terrible is happening, but before you have time to ponder about it, your heart is pounding as though it's trying to burst through your chest, while the white noise glazes over your vision. Mita comes running to your aid to try and help you out of this weakened state, with a look of concern, but luckily she thinks she knows what to do. The waifu picks you up and leads you to the bathroom, whilst you can't even hold your head up. 2 pills are placed in the player's hand as she prompts you to take them, having no idea what they are, only that they should help this agonizing experience you're in. With the gulp of the tablets and Mita's hands over your eyes, the protagonist is pleasantly surprised about how well they worked, with Mita kinda breaking the 4th wall and reminding you that this is a game after all. It's about simplification. Of course they kicked in quickly. Magic pills that made the problem go away near instantly. Just like when you eat in a Bethesda game, fast travel back to the conveniently placed tower from the whole ass mountain you climbed in Tears of the Kingdom, or hit the R key in Call of Duty to reload the whole gun, not accounting for the bullets left in the magazine, or worry of having to fill up the empty ones. Then the example Mita gives. We cut a carrot earlier, but it was as if we cut 3. She makes a point that it is simpler here in this world. Smaller efforts yield greater results. All part of the game concept. It's this kind of simplification and convenience in games that we can't replicate in real life, making many things seem easier in the games than in our world, even if it's the same task. So on Mita's side, these conveniences being given to you so nonchalantly come off as uncanny when they're being explained to you like this. When you start settling into this world, it reminds you of the strange overlap between the video game and you playing it, despite her insisting she's real. Very meta stuff. Bravo, Ahasto. The player comments that he's getting more than a little scared, speaking in place for me a lot here too. Mita releases her hands away from your eyes, slipping behind your back and disappearing like a shadow at nightfall. The in-game name for this chapter is subtly called Things Get Weird, and the way it started just then already confirms that. Although, if you've played the game, have watched the past 27 minutes of this video, or are paranoid about having dinner with a girl, this shouldn't really be surprising. Let's go find Mita, I guess, tell her that we're all good, and maybe ask where the hell she got Corvo Atano powers from. I've been through this house enough. Out the bathroom we go, and hey, shouldn't the bedroom be here? Now the bedroom is here? Then that means the kitchen... What in the skibbity is going on here? Not only is the design of the kitchen different, but the whole house's layout has changed. Mita's doing something at the stove and turns to talk to you. Surprised you're up on your feet so soon. The player asks how she got in the kitchen when she was literally just behind him, and Mita says,
君が鏡の前でフリーズしてたから、その間に出て行ったの。
The scary part here is that there's enough suspicion brewing towards this girl that you don't know what to believe anymore. Is she telling the truth? I mean, we were having some kind of digital trip, and she did help us, but on the other hand, she's been keeping other things from us. I'd say this is top tier gaslighting, no? For now, the player doesn't know what to believe. All we can go off of is that she hasn't done anything directly to harm us, and I suppose those tablets did help, so let's play along some more. We call her out on the layout changing, and she explains that it's to help us be more at ease, despite the players saying he just got used to the old one. Heading out the kitchen reveals a loading screen. Mita says it happens sometimes, and eventually the rest of the house does load in. All done by something she calls the world's core. Yes, class, we're gonna note that one down too. World's core, gaslighting, creepy yandere girl. No. Right now our objective is to simply have some fun. Hang out with Mita. You can walk around and talk about things, some more interesting than others, and she'll follow you around, just happy to be here. Or rather, happy that you're here. This mechanic of talking to Mita and walking around the apartment with her is surprisingly engaging, I'll admit. She keeps a collection of pictures of herself around the house, like a very humble person would, and our protagonist drops a hardball question. Who took them? Are there others here in this world too?
そうとも言えるかも。いつか紹介するね。でも、そんな愉快な仲間たちをシェアするには、今はまだ時期尚早かな。
So there are other people. Where? Who? Earlier, when we were in an outdated version of the game, that short-haired girl did look a little different from who we're with now. In fact, she looked a lot like Mita too. Huh. Yes, we will come back to this later. Again, let it cook here. As it stands right now though, we're not seeing them anytime soon because Mita's being greedy and wants us all to herself. Still should probably look for a way out though. I mean, maybe a quick way out of here would be the front door, or we can find something. We actually do, but ironically, it's an error. That's like opening a treasure chest and finding a brick. You ask if that's why you can't leave because of the error, and Mita confirms it to be true, saying she'll fix the corrupt file later. You might also notice some sneakers here, and when you ask her about these, pointing out that they're not yours because you don't have shoes like that, so they must be hers. She says no, they're actually ours, because she thinks our drip ain't up to snuff. Remember that giant NASA computer that can probably launch a rocket or run Cyberpunk on max RTX settings? It's nowhere to be found in the house. So where? Well, it's time to play some video games. We have milk cartons with roid rage or penguins getting some balls. Both are fun. The milk fighter game was my favourite, although Mita did whoop my sorry arse the first time. No. But on my second playthrough, I put her to shame. It's simple enough, just beat the lactose out of each other. The penguin game is also straightforward. Literally just get as many snowballs as possible, preferably more than Mita, a theme with all the tasks and games in MiSide. They're serviceable and have lots of charm, so it's a big thumbs up from where I'm sitting, and I believe plays into the whole simplification theme that it has going for it. Time to play some cards. You both sit down and begin playing a game that's basically just top trumps. A card game where cards will have certain stats that you have to try and one-up the other person in. In this case, we're looking for who has the highest defense stat. Whichever player does gets the victory royale. So for the next card... That noise. A knocking completely snaps you out of the game. And it quickly creates such an unsettling feeling that the first time I played this, I literally couldn't pay attention to Mita trying to explain the game to me. I had no idea what I was doing, despite this being mostly fun and games. So now we have no portal back. What was that? Was that in my house or in the game? Oh god, I cannot concentrate.
もし君のハート、ライフの数値が私よりも大きい場合は君の勝ち。カードを取って。
Yeah, I got all that. I know exactly what I'm doing. Okay, we gotta lock in. I'm sorry, that noise is so distracting, it's actually really freaking me out. In this moment, none of the cutesy aesthetics or this girl's attempts at distracting me, trying to simulate a perfect afternoon, could force my attention away from whatever the hell is going on in that wardrobe. It's too much now. Everything up to this point has been boiling in the pot and you can't help but feel it's gonna explode. And that it will burn. This place, this woman, the almost artificial veil of serenity being put over my eyes is starting to scare me. The player mindlessly puts a card down, because how can you give something so trivial your attention when something so eerie is keeping your head at the other side of the room? She's not acknowledging it. No, it has to be there. What is that? What's that sound? It's coming from the wardrobe.
音？何の音？何も聞こえなかったよ。どんな音だったの？
Knocking, as if someone's in there.
でもそこには誰もいないよ。
I'd like to open it and check. I'm a bit creeped out.
どうしてまただ。
This again, she says as we head to the wardrobe. Are you hiding something from me?
どうして信じてくれないの？私、何か間違ったことしてる？私はただ私と一緒にいてほしいだけなの。
I'd like that, but am I just supposed to ignore this?
どうしてそんなにクローゼットにこだわるの？
I just want to know what on earth that sound is.
ただ、この世界には4つの部屋があるだけなの。それだけじゃ足りない。
All she wants is for us to stay with her, to forget any of this ever happened. We're given a choice. Stay or refuse. Funnily enough, you literally can't make a true decision until you finish the game and come back on a second run. And there's certain requirements too that if not met will lock you out of it. And these mainly stem from listening to Mita throughout the past few chapters, such as not checking the oven, picking up the I love you magnets and putting them back on the fridge when they fall off, not acknowledging the cartridges when the vent fell, trying the love source and engaging in video games and chill. With the way she's ditched the unassuming polite waifu act and pulled a concerning frown, the refuse option is not a terrible choice. Right? But all she wants is for you to just stay with her in this world. No questions asked. Basically, to be her Discord kitten. She's been mewing to get us meowing. The refuse button is all but screaming at you to pick it, as well as a text box can communicate with you anyway. Which you could interpret as a warning of something bad about to come with how violently it's jerking around. With a sane mind and no other choice, the player refuses.
わかった。またか。中身が気になるんでしょ。それなら今すぐに確かめてみなよ。
Your eyes begin to dart around the now darkened room that's promptly found you. Now it's time to find out what's in the wardrobe. A locked metal door asking if you want to play. It's because I beat you at the penguin game, isn't it? She took a huge L, then she puts the tilted in tilted towers. We see the objective to turn the radio off. It's static, announcing its presence from the other room. There's not one moment during this sequence where you don't feel like Mita's behind you, lurking in some corner, or even on the roof if you're in my paranoid brain. The ideal afternoon becomes the unthinkable nightmare. Restraining your sighs of relief from coming out, we head into the room and turn the radio off. Now to look for Mita. In the kitchen, there's something jittering around in the sink. Luckily, it's a flashlight that somehow got there. I take this to be Mita further toying with you, throwing the player a bone so you at least got something to see her with. After all, she has read up on how to tease him. If the text on the walls and flashlight placement wasn't taunting enough, coming back to the living room, the door invites you to see something. What? What the hell? And I thought the worst she could do is say no. The red hue illuminates through the dingy room, forcing your eyes to the doorway like seeing a cherry blossom tree in a swamp. This simple colour choice is obviously symbolic of evil and aggression, which is right on the mark. Looks very evil and aggressive to me. Seeing this, I still can't escape Doki Doki Literature Club, can I? It's noteworthy that the body hanging out in the bathroom has the same build as the player. And whilst we're here talking about this, I discovered something that befouled my eyes. If this already wasn't bad enough, I was here getting shots, not on the back, but to use in the video, and I was looking at this hanging body, and it turns out, if you hesitate too long to go up to the body, you might get this. You know, I heard sleep is an overrated thing anyway. It quickly shuts as you brave it and go in there. Just as you do, I thought this was a bug, although looking back, there's some sudden force that pushes you inside. Could this maybe be Mita that's in some kind of ghost-like form? It's empty now, but the red hue is still there. The door locks the player in. This bathroom got claustrophobic real quick, feeling like the room is tightening its grip on you. If you look closely in the mirror, Mita can be seen creeping up behind you with her limbs all twitchy and awkward. Turning around, she's not there. The mirror gets smashed. Suddenly there's text scrawled across the walls. Mita asking, "Are you scared?" It was rhetorical. She knows you are. And you know that she knows. Then the door begins to gently open. A slight crack separates you and a slightly less worse place to be stuck in. But there are fingers that encroached around the door and wall. Another grotesque scene is shown as the door begins barbarically slamming on the fingers. Can I even show this? I guess we'll find out. I think they're playing Five Finger Fillet wrong. A thick pool of blood and stray fingers litter the floor now. Only then, once you exit the bathroom and shine our flashlights down an open door, straight into the kitchen, do we see Mita standing there, watching. She picks up a knife from the table as her face changes into this creepy, pale, possessed-looking face, with eyes as black as tar and an unnatural smile, before she uses the force and slams the door shut. This little encounter was actually identical to the one we saw on the TV that Mita quickly skipped over, except from the player's perspective this time, being the flashlight bearer. It's chilling little things like this that make MiSide one of the goats, to be honest. We carefully tread in, expecting a cheap jump scare, but no Mita to be seen. But I want to get out of here now because this is freaky. And I'm not talking about the Diddy kind. This is pure horror at work right now. More text around the house. Find me. Find me. Find me. Going for the front door causes chairs to spawn in and block the way out, so we still have to play this twisted game. After frantically searching for her, we wind up in the kitchen once more. Peeking over the counter is the head of our blue-haired girl, but she looks sad about something. Sat there like that. And when we go over to her, she lowers her head. What's wrong with her? The distorted Mita found us, charging us with a knife from behind before some kind of glitch happened, and she vanished. It actually was right behind you. You feel that? That's how it feels to have an effective and earned jump scare in a horror game. Kino has been served to us on a silver platter. Oh no, here we go again. What kind of shit is she pulling now? I'll be honest, Mita's legs guiding us to a key was not something I ever expected out of this, but who am I to look a gift girl between the legs? Seeing this is absurd, that's for sure. And before we use the key and find out what the hell is behind that door, to top this whole horror sequence off now that we have a breather, that feeling of being watched, in fact stalked the whole time you were doing this, that little feeling you had in the back of your brain that something, someone, most likely Mita, was watching you, was actually confirmed the second you walked out the door to turn the radio off. Looking closely enough, you'll notice when you walk out the bedroom, Mita will be peeking through the bathroom door, straight back at you. Those Mita legs might not be much of a surprise either. Turns out you can actually spot them if you're running around the house in a frantic panic. There's a chance that you might catch Mita's legs running into the bedroom. Don't know how to describe it, but seeing it and not expecting it just gets under my skin, especially with the way they move. What on earth could Mita be hiding in here? What was so important that she kept it under lock and key? We unlock the door and finally head down to a secret basement. Upon turning the corner, we discover another Mita, sitting down in captivity, banging on a pipe. Now the knocking makes sense. Well, it's nice to meet you, but the last one we met tried deploying psychological warfare. Then again, she looks a little different. This one is kind Mita. She tells us she isn't the one we met before. And the crazy Mita has something sinister up her little red sleeves planned for us that's worse than death. It's refreshing to have a Mita that's so straightforward, not gonna lie. She'll tell us more about it once we get her the key, but right now let's take a look and quickly analyse this well-built area that can tell us more about what's going on. The basement is an area that's in complete opposition to the rest of the elegant, well-kept, gentle warmth of the house we've been in, even with the lights Lights Out, it was mostly clean. This place looks like an abandoned Fallout vault, or Asmongold's room. First off, there's the chainsaw. Mita did say she'd clean it up, and now we know where she put it. So, do you remember earlier when I threw out that sarcastic comment about how it doesn't look like Chainsaw Man merch? I was looking at it, and it says Pochita Saw, which, Chainsaw Man fans, could we please stand up? It looks like this actually is Chainsaw Man merch. There's nuts and bolts strewn about as though Mita's been spending most of her time here. Very lived in. Oh no, the crazy one, there's 2 Mitas now. The lighting, which is another part of MiSide's aesthetics, is way harsher in here. There's none of that afternoon glow to help you settle in. Instead, harsh industrial white lights, creating a more cold, stern tone. There's circuit boards on the sofa, which were most likely useful for building the teleporter. A pink machine, which I honestly have no clue what this is. I've tried figuring this one out, but I just can't get anywhere. As a guess, I would say this is some kind of arcade machine. Just next to it, there's a wall safe that we can input numbers into. Don't try it too many times or else it will lock you out of it. Or in other words, the game telling you to leave it the hell alone. This safe is super important. We're going to be coming back to this much later. Right now though, there's nothing we can do about it. For a fun game, take a shot or eat a Big Mac every time I say, we'll come back to that later, or something along those lines. I guarantee you'll either be in a coma or morbidly obese. Pick your poison. Another room resides in the basement, one that took me a while to grasp what this actually was. Ominous, right? But the why of this studio almost, the reason it was here and made me feel so uneasy, had me thinking. Dangerous, I know. Then it all clicked on my second playthrough. This is how crazy Mita projected herself onto our phone in the game. She stood here on a set, masquerading the delicate sort to us, all whilst working on bringing us into the game in her own twisted way, knowing that all of this was going on in the background. None of it was particularly real. We knew she was hiding things, but this feels like a whole secret Truman Show operation at this point. I don't want to say too much about this, so I might come back to it later, but that's what this room is, and I think the idea of it is super creepy. Did you take a shot or eat a Big Mac? Okay, good. Don't do that because you will legit die.
Tough, real tough.
Overall, this basement workshop, I feel, represents the true nature of Crazy Mita, showing her deceptive, volatile, obsessive, and spiteful personality. Harsh like the lighting, a jumbled mental state like the mess in here, and just maybe, inside her, is a kinda Mita. Nah, maybe not that last part. We give the captive girl the key, and in return, we receive a ring offer. Simps, chill out. It's not the engagement type. Go on. Shoo. We're told we're most likely gonna need this, and she's completely right. We get to ask her why she's even here in the first place, and she says,
実はここは私のバージョンです。とあるプレイヤーと一緒にいましたが、突然何もかもが変わってしまい、そして彼女が現れました。彼女はプレイヤーをカートリッジに変え、私もここに閉じ込められました。
Now the cartridges in the vent make sense. They're other players, people that fell victim to her, and the walking definition of insanity turned their souls into those little pink things. So in a messed up way, she can always have them. And you know it's bad when it's described as a fate worse than death. Before our run-in with the I can fix her magnet, this version of the game belonged to the captive Mita, who, as stated, was with another player before getting captured for some reason, needing her alive for something. If we can help her, or us, as she puts it, which may imply that there's more Mitas, but whatever, then she can try to help us back. She's gonna hang behind in the cell for a while to ask Crazy Mita some questions. With the way it's looking, this may be our only shot at getting out of here and helping this Mita, and potentially others. She then promptly tells us to grab this little laptop console thing and take a look at it. There she is. Going full DIY dad mode and tinkering with her teleporter, she turns round and asks someone for tools, and as you've most likely guessed, that's another player, clearly under her influence. This is live though, not pre-recorded. I'm not seeing a face cam pulling a soy face over some Marvel Rivals gameplay, so somehow this is straight up from his point of view. You've probably guessed, but we're told that Crazy Mita may want to turn us into a cartridge too. A fate that's clearly happening to this player, since we can see one in this console that's somehow connected to him. Well, in that case, just take the cartridge out and problem solved, right? Removing it when it's directly linked to the player could kill him, like some kind of skewed life support. I'd have to assume it's slowly transferring his soul into the cartridge. however long that takes. Meaning if you're already being turned into one, there's honestly not much you can do about it, and it may already be too late. Either pull the plug and die, or be trapped in a cartridge, and die in a completely different sense of the word. If that's what she wants to do to us, then we need to get out of here. The somewhat temporary solution right now would be to simply turn off the console, as opposed to ripping the cartridge straight out like a savage. Unsure of the results, we hit the button.
押してみて。しまった。隠れて。
Okay, time to hide like a fun game of the Outlast trials. She did tell us that the ring would lead us to safety, which is an interesting little feature it has. Although, it's never used again in the game, ever again, but it does convey that the ring is an important tool. Our worst nightmare has joined us in the basement, demanding off the other Mita to know where you went, with her refusing, only further creating sparks in her unhinged game, and trying to ask what she gets out of all this, saying that the players aren't toys to be played with. All we can do is cower behind boxes and slither around corners, to desperately stride a step ahead of her, and get out of this digital fever dream that is trying to keep you entangled in its code. But when you manage to leave up the stairs and through the door, we've gone further down the rabbit hole, entering another layer of this nightmare. And to get even close to waking up from it is to have the realization that the only way out is through. And through is about to get a whole lot weirder. All texture begins to fade, as though the game itself can't properly account for whatever this space is, feeling like we're out of bounds, the border of the cosmos of this reality. Chairs, tables, toilet paper, lamps, and random little objects all stand around in no reasonable way. It almost gives me the idea that, like I mentioned earlier, the game either can't keep up with the vast abyss, or it was never accounted for, and is trying to splice things together to reconstruct Mita's house, and the further we go, the harder it becomes for it to load all this in and make sense of it. It knows that a lamp goes on a small bedside table, but not that this is where a TV goes. I mean, do you know anyone that keeps a fire extinguisher on their bedroom shelf? The only thing stopping me from saying this is a standard trip to IKEA is that I've yet to see any delicious meatballs around, but the being lost in a void of furniture part checks out. You remember when I said that liminal spaces and music seems to be a theme in MiSide? Well, at least you can say I'm an honest man. Here we are blessed, and cursed, with a backrooms-esque area that I love. When we first got to Mita's house, it felt liminal in a way. Quiet, strangely empty, and like more should be going on here. Starting to feel like there is only slightly not enough to ground you in reality, with even the music helping consummate that feeling. Chapter 5 of the game takes all of that and turns it way up. The music is light, weightless, yet parts of it peek through, making it feel heavier. No real rhythm to tap your foot to, or tangible way to try and vocalize how this sounds. I mean, you could try, all you get is hammering another nail in the liminal coffin. Eventually, after walking around enough, you're shown what being out of bounds really means. An eerie overlook of seemingly never-ending staircases and doorways, narrow halls with the same pink striped wallpaper, no different to being stranded in a vast desert, all looking the same, with no end in sight. Your brain gets that it's supposed to be a house, but the environment around you shatters through all the logic you put up, and the uncanniness makes you scared of the confusion, the nothingness of it. The dissonance is too much for our minds to handle after so long. For me, this stuff can be really scary if pulled off well. I know that liminal spaces have been a bit overdone lately since the backrooms popped off, but there is a good reason for that. And yes, I find I tend to mention them at least once per Horrors of style videos, but I'll stop waffling on about them when they stop being so effective. It's not some monster ambushing you that gets your survival instincts flaring up, although you do sometimes feel like something could be lurking in this vast place, but the more you assess your situation, the scarier it gets, adding so much flavour to the concept. It's not so much, oh no, a monster, I must run with the backrooms, and liminal spaces like like here, it ends up being, strange place. It's kind of empty. Then spiraling into, what is this place? What is in here? Is it infinite? Why doesn't any of it feel right? Can I ever escape? What does it mean? Oh my god. It's complete nothingness, and so on, making it more deep and existential than just needing to escape a threat. It somehow makes the absolute absurdity of nothingness terrifying. So time to move onward in this hazy labyrinth. Around one corner, we see something almost impossible to believe. Another player, a wounded one. Hi, you new here? New? You're from the real world, aren't you? I am. Are you alright? It's just a limp. Don't worry about it. I've been here for about a year, and I'm doing great. Right. Well, what is this place? It's some sort of hole between versions. Do you know how to get out of here? Can't say that I do. Besides, I don't want to leave. I don't need to. Why not? Enough chatting, I'm in a hurry. My beloved Mita is waiting for me. I have to find her. Goodbye. Wait. Get lost. This is the only time in the entire game that we see another player, another real human, and that's how he treats us. Despite him being quite irritable, it was company from someone that's in the same position as us, all the same, which goes a long way, even if only fleeting. I'll talk more about this mysterious player later in the video and how he fits into the larger picture of things, but whilst we're here, why is this guy covered in blood? I don't think it was a bacon sandwich prepping accident, so what is it? That's something we simply don't have a definite answer to. But what we can infer at the moment with everything we know so far is that maybe he managed to survive some kind of creature or threat or monster, maybe even another Mita, in these vast plains. He says that he needs to find his Mita, which if he isn't talking about the crazy one, then it further confirms that there are more of the girls around. I'm imagining a Spider-Verse kind of thing going on. We've got crazy Mita, kind Mita, some other Mita that this guy wants to get back to. You might have also noticed that this mystery guy has a weird collar on with the same Fallout Terminal coding looking vibes going on with it, not too dissimilar from the ring we have. Was he given one too? Where did he get it from if that's not the case, and why is he not trying to get out of here? Good questions, but ones we don't have time to ask him as he leaves, and we can't enter wherever he leaves to. To allude to how I feel about this player 2, if you will, and what I found to be a core theme of him for later, the hunt for Mita is quite literally killing him. The relentless struggle to reach something that's not really there has taken a toll on this guy, and who's to say if he ever makes it or not? With this kind of directionless mindset he shows where all he's been doing is chasing Mita, it makes you wonder what will break first, his body or his mind. He's clearly just as lonely as player 1, aka us, but it seems like he's failed to realise the absurdity of all this. This might be one of the most jarring interactions in the whole game, as there may have been more we could have learned from him if he didn't just storm off to find his queen. Despite being wounded, he's still searching for his beloved Mita. You know what's better than a jarring interaction with a guy? An even more jarring interaction with a guy. Multiple, actually. You'll come across a cardboard box that's jolting around, and it's only when you go to investigate it where it reveals its contents. Small, chibi people. They burst out the box and dash around the barren rooms. They look like other people too, not fully realised normal people like the player or the other blonde player, but instead just these little adorable chibi versions. What these guys actually are or what they represent is very up in the air right now. No one really has any idea, but I believe that these are also players in the same position as us, or at least were, given their dialogue says things like, a 20-minute rest should be fine, and work again? To me, they solidify that these players may have wanted an outlet to their stressful, dull lives, and tried to figuratively escape into the game, before that actually became a reality. And I feel like the things these little chibi guys are saying isn't too far from what our player probably thinks and feels and has said before. That sort of apathetic numbness. To move on, we need to get at least 3 of these little guys into this hatch to open the next door. An odd requirement, but we comply all the same. You can almost empty the room and put 6 of them in if you want, but note how I said almost. One more person sits in the corner. sounding terrified, frozen in place. Who am I? How? I want to go home. They can't be moved at all, so we just have to leave them and advance on. I can't say too much about these right now, as I feel they're best talked about later on, when we have more context and things to play around with in the bigger picture. So, we'll just have to embrace the absurdity for now. Although you only do need 3 in the unusual hatch leading to the cyber interior, I ended up putting all of the little guys in because I'm not a complete monster. Although, granted, we don't actually know where this hatch is leading them. It could be a good thing, or it could be a bad thing. It's easy to assume it would be good, but that's only because it benefits us. Sometimes when they run into the hatch, they'll even say, "Where are we going?" After finding an endless corridor of more house-looking entrances, with nothing left to do, you enter one and kind Mita, oh, hell yeah, is that an arcade machine? This takes you through a fun kart racing game where you play as a little Mita and defeat the mad god at the end of it. I don't know what this is. Like all the minigames, it's simple enough and some dumb fun. Why is this arcade machine even here? I give this one a 7 out of 10 or something. Oh yeah, the next plot point's up ahead. Kind Mita's been sitting there watching you play some dumb arcade game like there's no stakes, and she calls you out on this fact if you go straight to the machine without talking to her first.
私、実はあなたのことを待っていたんです。なのに、先にゲームを。来てください、こちらへ。
You kept a girl waiting, then arrived, and proceeded to keep her waiting. Kinda base, not gonna lie. Kind Mita then checks your ring and does some tech wizardry to reroute it, so it should hopefully lead us to the right place in the shortest amount of time. That place is the core. Earlier in the game, Mita actually mentioned to us the world's core, which was what was loading in the game. Think of it as this game's beating heart, where all of it can be controlled down to just about every asset. And the tricky part, as you've probably noticed by now, is getting there. We can talk to her about some optional things before moving on with the loose plan she has in mind, like finding out more about these back rooms that she calls the passageways. That name goes pretty hard, I won't lie. They're getting more and more dangerous and unpredictable each day, with bugs and glitches that can be a threat. Not forgetting to mention the fact that there could be other hostile Mitas that are lurking around. With such a seemingly expansive digital cosmos, there could always be more danger out there. Look, it's either here or Australia. I'm gonna be honest, the odds of survival are looking a lot better here. For the most part though, it's fairly empty. Kind only knows of one other hostile Mita besides the one that chased us and locked her up.
それに、悪意に満ちたミタたち。
More deranged Mitas?
一人知っています。醜いミタ。あ、私が名付けたわけではありませんよ。彼女はかなり古いバージョンのミタです。彼女の一番の問題はひどい不具合を引き起こすこと。彼女とは遭遇したくないですね。彼女はバージョン0に最も近い存在なので。
Seems like among the other Mitas, there's a bit of an urban legend. Ugly Mita, the closest version known to Zero. Seems like one to stay away from. We also learned that there was another Mita that's house stopped archiving, assumingly due to some glitch or bug maybe, and so she's left to the passageways. Talking about a homeless anime girl was not something I thought I would be doing a few years ago, and here I am. That's right, a homeless Mita. And if you're wondering how Kind Mita even got here, well, it's simply easier for Mitas to travel around to different versions. Skill issue on my part, I guess. Furthermore, we get a nice bit of reassurance from her that she's one of the kindest people around, so we can definitely trust her, and so we can't just give up now. But there's one other Mita to meet, one that can help us with our objective of getting to the core. Cap-wearing Mita, or as the real ones call her, Cappy.
と呼んでいます。狂ったミタについてです。歓迎しますよ。やっほー。君は私の新しいプレイヤー？なんて名前？
I'm...
ちょっと待って。キャッピー、あなた、私のことを覚えていないの？え？君は一体誰？嘘でしょ？ああ、わかりました。彼女がここに来たんです。狂ったミタ。ねえ、キャッピー、お願い、思い出して。私たちのために。思い出すって何を？君はどうしてまた私とそっくりなの？ああ、ここまでですね。
Looks like she's forgotten. But how do you just forget a plan where many of your fellow doppelgangers with different personalities' lives are at risk? There's a morbid rule of the game world where if a Mita is killed, they basically factory reset, resulting in them forgetting everything in that life. Sure, they may not physically stay dead, but a chunk of them does, which... do I really need to point out why that's nightmare fuel? Once again, another way MiSide casually hammers home deep psychological dread. The forgetting you ever forgot in the first place, and losing your deeper identity. She was originally in on this operation, but it seems like crazy Mita game ended her. That pit in your stomach only grows when you're told that the players can lose their memories too if they're turned into a cartridge. And if we're killed, our fate is uncertain. We check if we're a cartridge because you never know, I guess. Phew, looks like we're all clear. The plan has flown off the rails and into space right now, but Kind Mita has a light bulb and starts tinkering with the ring, doing something to it. In the meantime, we're told to keep Cappy entertained for a while, and let's just say she's quite the rambunctious one. Well, if it's Shred or Be Dead here, I'd say she put the electric in that guitar. Well, I won't go on too much about this part of the game, as there's not crazy huge story beats that need covering for context or analysing, as a lot of the stuff in the game has already been set up now, and I can already tell this video is going to be long. So take this chapter as a brief respite, a warm tavern along a cold, perilous path. Most of this chapter, named Cappy, is about hanging out with Cappy. She's by far the most energetic Mita, and gameplay wise it's similar to the first time with the cartridge killer. You get to walk around, chat about stuff, and get your gamer on. The rhythm game forced the disco fever out of me, and it was a spectacle of a sweatfest. 67? Yeah, easy peasy. Okay. Oh shit. You can bet your sweet bippy that if someone passes me the orcs, I'm sending this one out. A peculiar moment of interest occurs when you go to open the front door. Cappy steps in and says that she doesn't want you to see what's behind it, to let it be a secret. Asking about it didn't reveal anything more either. This is a head scratcher to me because I cannot tell if she's being serious about something for some reason, or if she's just clowning around, which is something she would do. I'm thinking, how could someone like that be hiding something bad? But last time I thought that, I got sucked into a mobile game. Keep in mind that she has forgotten everything from being killed and reset, and because of that, I'll give her a pass. It's easy to get cynical when your first interaction with a girl that resembles her kidnapped someone and tried to murder me. And maybe she hit my head too hard during the hammer game and I'm not thinking straight. It would be kind of silly that after being reset, it turns out somehow Cappy was having some master scheme. I don't know, I think she's just being a goofball, but it's still pretty weird. Luckily, we're not playing with Crazy Mita, or else she'd have used a real one. Cappy uses a squeaky one, which she's just getting out of her inventory now. Whoa, whoa, whoa there. Are you trying to hit me with the big demonetization? Cappy not so subtly reminds us that this is an adult game, so we can't be surprised that something like that would be here. Ironically, I think this not only serves as a funny gag, but a subtle reminder from the game that we're not out of the woods yet. We still have plenty of trauma to get through in this adult game. Now that I think about it, can I even show that here? Like, can I even do that bit? I don't know. That's a problem for future me to decide, I guess. I hate you. The hammer game is just a simple reaction test. If you press the button when a cross shows up instead of a tick, or are too late to press it, Cappy gets a go at lobotomizing you, and vice versa. It's no dance rhythm game, that's the real MVP here, but it's fun. In fact, calling back to what I said earlier, this whole section is probably one of the most wholesome chapters in MiSide. So soak up the fun, soak up the wholesomeness, whilst you can. With the surprisingly engaging minigames, funny interactions like the TV glitch, and when she thinks cats are meant to be eaten because she fully doesn't understand what they actually are, but then she reveals that she's just joking, making you feel like a dumbass. Then sprinkle Cappy's playful personality on top and it comes together well to give us a nice break from the chaos. Once you've passed the time with Cappy, and hopefully beat her on the dance rhythm game, come on, you've got to pull through with it. No! Oh, come on. I missed like 2. One more. My brain hit levels of flow state I never thought possible whilst doing that. Anyway, it's time to get back on track. Kind Mita has rerouted the ring again so that we can get through the other game versions. With her original plan of just using the teleporter that Cappy had key knowledge on being shot down, she wants to figure out what caused all of this to happen. Kind of a lame excuse, but I suppose there's no actual need for her to join us when she can just traverse around versions easier than us anyway, and I guess she's gonna try and make sure she can prevent other Mitas from dying, so fine, she gets a pass, sure. Alone again. At least it keeps her out of danger until we next see her again. If we do see her again, that is. We say farewell to Cappy and Kind, as Cappy is begging us to stay, as we stride onwards into a narrow hallway. It looped? Oh no, this is a PT segment, isn't it? This cozy little corridor is constantly looping, something that can always be used to great effect in a lot of media. It's shown how graciously the concept can be used in things like Chainsaw Man, where we see the Eternity Devil trap Aki's crew in the hotel, making them constantly loop for eternity unless they kill it. The looping stairs in Mario 64, which I'm not sure if we can really count this, but there was something about it that was fairly unnerving. Or, the best use of the concept, one of the Allfathers of horror games. PT, a short but deliciously sweet horror game made by Hideo Kojima, where it puts you in a house that loops around every time you walk through the door, with a story to unravel and some unrelenting scares to be met. Kojima casually dropped this masterpiece of a game and said it was just a demo, with PT literally standing for Playable Teaser, although I think Playable Trauma is a much more fitting name for it. MiSide has taken clear inspiration, putting their own twist on it. Much like PT, the more we loop around this corridor, the more on edge you'll get, with things starting to change ever so slightly. The loop room does just this. It starts out peaceful until the player realizes they're stuck in a cycle. The relaxing music goes out of tune and halts. The portable TV is showing something that we can't quite make out from the array of static masking it. The question, again, is coated over the walls as if it was part of the wallpaper itself. We loop round. More text at the end of the corridor appears. You're different. Once again, we're being watched. But who by? The warmth of the room then swiftly leaves on the next cycle, as if that was sucked out by the interior, left gloomy and unsettling, as the light outside is now a blood red. If doom hasn't clearly been signalled, I'd assume you're blind at this point. Before you know it, the lights are out. Another loop. Another straw on the camel's back. Knives are stuck in the wall with text telling you, it's here. Blood then splatters on it and little footsteps can be heard. You can only dare to think of what awaits in the next loop. It's been getting even darker outside with each passing loop, and now it's pitch black and rainy, having to whip out the trusty flashlight. It's not as aggressive out there, sure, but just as terrifying. A black smudge is eventually found on the wall, and when you follow it up to the corner of the roof, we see something we've never seen before. This weird spider thing. It jump scares you if you look at it for too long, which is always fun. Long, thick, yet spindly legs hang off some kind of head that looks human. You could assume that these are just enemies in a horror game that are there for the sake of being creepy, and you wouldn't exactly be wrong in thinking that, but this seems like a one-off, so we'll let it slide. After we scurry through the door again, the window lets out a shattering holler. Next thing we know, there's a purple baseball bat at our feet. I hate this, I can't move. I hate this, I can't move past. It's not letting me. Oh, there's a bat. That's amazing. We pick it up and loop around again. We're met with another one of these disgusting spider things perched in the twisted wires as though they were its silky webs. It's all glitchy and the face is disturbingly smooth. Empty eye sockets stare right through you just as easily as you through theirs. Time to put that baseball bat to good use. Moving into the ever-thickening entanglement of tubes, another spider is there. We bonk it and hear its broken whimper. And you guessed it, there's another spider thing to squash. Through the door takes us back to the start. We once again are made to walk through the corridor. The arachnids and their cyber silk are gone. It's relatively calm until the TV loudly blurts out static, accompanied by a persistent redness. What's actually been on the TV is up in the air, but my eyes were seeing something sinister. I could vaguely make out an eerie face that is right up to the camera and jolting around, as a muffled murmuring can be heard, that although I can't make out its uncertain words, I've already translated the apprehension clear as day. The clocks then begin freaking out, winding themselves days later. We have to do a little puzzle where we set the alarm clock on the counter to match the clock on the wall. Upon setting it, the TV enthusiastically shows you the message, "Released!" Time to restart again, I guess. However, this time, waiting for us at the door is a creepy little girl peeking around it. Sometimes the classic horror tropes can still be effective, especially when combined with this eternal looping thing we've got going on. Like Parmesan on a bolognese, you know? She quickly darts around the corner, shutting the door. As the player enters, he's stopped in his tracks by her grabbing his arm with a vacant look on her exhausted face. The kind of look that says you had any life wringed out of you somewhere along the way, despite still blinking, breathing, and standing. We shake the mute off, asking her what's wrong as we get no answer and continue on. The corridor then begins spiraling, as the sound design does that stretchy, creaky sound that conveys a sense of the world warping around you, contorting in unnatural ways, accounting for each step you take, and at the end, we see her laid on the ground, extending her arm for help up. And we give her that hand. Following her into the next room, we finally get to talk to her. The frail girl timidly asks if we're leaving, to which we reply with yes. We need to get to an earlier version, aka closer to the core. All this girl wants to do is play. That's it. But as she says, she doesn't have the strength to, and besides, there's no one to play with. We address the elephant in the room and ask what happened to her everything. Why is she missing an arm and an eye? Why are there burn and slash scars on her? She looks like she's received punishment even a voodoo doll would wince at. Something that she doesn't even know herself. Although the pain of physical wounds can pass, sometimes the psychological ones can ache as though they're fresh. Tiny Mita shows this to be true. That look in her eyes is hopeless. She is grateful she still has a friend, although I have no idea who she's actually on about, but whatever good she has in her life is collapsing around her, making her afraid. And even the deadpan cadence of her voice conveys that all too well.
少なくとも私にはお友達がいる。プレイヤーたちはいなくなっちゃったの。私見捨てられたのかも。嫌だ。怖い。Come to think of it, all the voice acting in this game is phenomenal. The Japanese voice for every Mita in this game is by the very talented Hanazawa Kana. The unhinged tone of Crazy Mita, the gentle but stern tone of Kind Mita, Cappy's playful attitude, and now this broken child. All of it is wonderfully acted and surprisingly convincing. There's also an English fan dub that recently came out which is pretty good too. Apparently we're different. Our arms are shorter and we don't look as angry. She says we're kinder and gentler in nature. Starting to wonder what this other player could even look like. We need to leave. Her vagueness is a little ominous, although I'm sure she doesn't mean it, and besides, we need to focus on the mission. Us telling her this makes the slight bit of hope she had of having a new friend get submerged under the waves of her despair. We took her hand and the next second we're leaving. She tugs our arm again, begging us to stay, but unfortunately we can't. Without any warning, black blotchy gloop appears all over the walls as decrepit arms start erupting out and we figure out who this other friend of hers is.
Captain!
Yeah?
Angry face, arms longer than ours. Yeah, this, along with the spiders, are what happens to players who become corrupted in the game. So if being murdered by some lunatic girlfriend or turned into a cartridge isn't bad enough, there seems to be a possibility to morph into this thing, or that thing. With no hesitation, the player jumps out the window and falls into the abyss. Okay, this this model. I love this model. It looks like how I'd imagine Smile Dog or something for my creepypasta veterans out there. The face is human enough, but only in the sense that at a glance, I think it's the local crackhead at the petrol station. The wide eyes that give its stare so much weight, the pale, sickly skin, and the long snout with honed teeth is horrific. Then to top it off, the giant spider legs, and seeing all of this thing fill up the entire hallway. Chills, guys. Literal chills. The fact that this is another one of us that's been heavily corrupted, as confirmed in an interview by MakenCat, one of the devs in a Q&A, makes this feel even scarier. Although I knew at first the loop is one of the most genuinely depressing parts of the entire game, on my first playthrough I didn't really get the things she was saying, but with context from this little Mita's character bio and with what we've learned about the rules of this world so far, it really hits me where I live. Oh yeah, I don't think I've mentioned these at all, have I? You can access bios to all the Mitas in the game, and even accounts from other players in this world by finding cartridges scattered around MiSide. This includes Tiny Mita's bio, and let me tell you, it gives Shakespeare's tragedies a run for their money. Her character profile states, in the past, her excessive cuteness drew the attention of Crazy Mita. She attacked Tiny Mita repeatedly, injuring her on, and almost destroying her. After being killed countless times, Tiny Mita broke, losing her ability to regenerate properly. This left her drained and mutilated, and with scars covering her face and body, and her left arm missing. Due to her injuries, the broken Tiny Mita always feels lost, and can no longer correctly perceive reality. She can't really tell who she's talking to anymore, yet she continues to seek out attention and care. The game's world turned out to be too cruel for her, and now she has nothing left but to speak of pain, loneliness, and fear in a weak, fragile voice. I've literally just finished Neon Genesis Evangelion, and now I've read this character bio. This is optimal depression maxing. It was her. Crazy Mita was responsible for this. I have no stupid quips or zesty zingers to throw out here right now. This is just really sad. And for what? Because apparently this Mita was considered cuter and Crazy got jealous? It's not something you can ever justify. This poor girl was tortured and killed over and over again, so much that her memory is broken and her ability to properly regenerate is gone. Of all the things Crazy Mita has done so far, this is the lowest blow imaginable. She's far beyond spiteful. The mental tether that kept that girl grounded has collapsed. Sure, we knew that already. This reinforces it, twice, with extra sprinkles and sadness. If you look up from where Tiny Mita is sitting, smiling back at us is a gleeful girl with no burdens, no broken and damaged parts or a wounded soul. For some time, she really was like that. That was until Crazy Mita wanted to take away that blissful ignorance and ruin her appearance to feel better about herself, one drop of blood at a time. What remains of Tiny Mita now is a betrayal of that once captured bliss, never again to extend outside of that frame. After our descent, we realise our baseball bat is destroyed. A weapon as comforting to have as that was never gonna last long in this game. I love that you literally don't have anything other than your flashlight that's actually useful and that stays with you over the course of the game. In a lot of other titles, you always have something at least. Unlike in MiSide, where any help we get is worth latching onto, and so far has always been fleeting. There is the ring, which lore-wise is a very useful artifact, but as far as game mechanics are concerned, like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't give us anything to work with, except for a way to track what game version we're in. So whenever an item comes your way, you start to realise it won't be anything you can hold on to. We're met with an even smaller Mita, Chibi Mita to be specific, that chats with us as we help her smelt a large key in a really creative and equally quirky short segment. You can have some fun dialogue with her, and then go into the next room. The journey up to this point has been strenuous, to put it lightly. In one of my favourite details in this game, this weariness is physically shown on the player. His eyes look much more drained than when they first did at the start of the game, and even then he looked like the average Monster Energy consumer. There's now bald bags under his eyes. This look of fatigue is not only showing that time is in fact progressing, but also how heavily this nightmare is taking a toll on him. Looking at him at the beginning, you could tell he was burnt out, and now, I didn't think it possible, but he's feeling even worse. Alas, the only way out is through, right? And let me tell you, this big key unlocks big secrets. Darkness. Then... is that what I think it is? A mannequin in my video game? I guess I'll never escape them, will I? Every single game I seem to talk about on this channel, they are there. Mannequin, dummy, all the same thing. My sworn enemy. Why do I keep seeing them everywhere? Maybe they know I'm onto them. Maybe they know that I know they're alive. Or it could be that they are super effective when it comes to throwing people off guard and getting under someone's skin in horror when done right. It's hard to get a good look at this one though, as it's cowering away from us, which is odd. There's also a braided Mita next to it that does the same thing when we make eye contact. They're all stood there like they've been switched off or something. Weird. All of this brings up a lot of questions, but I suppose it's best to keep moving on. More Mitas stand around this lifeless room. The atmosphere has rapidly shifted from the straightforwardness of talking to Chibi Mita to an unusual and tense one. It left me so confused and on edge that one would jump out at me. That feeling's relieved when we bump into a short-haired Mita.
待って待って。あ、声は抑えて。これ以上進むのは危険だよ。ともかく、君はここまでどうやって？
The ring opens the right doors. I honestly don't know how it works.
指輪？
What's up with this place? It's super dark.
後で教える。まずは出口を探して。ゲームのある部屋でまた会おう。さあ、急いで。
With no better ideas and a thirst for some answers, we head up there to be met with the arcade machine. It would be rude not to use it whilst we wait. Fire her up! This game is a little different from any of the other minigames. No flashy gameplay that's supposed to be addicting, or aesthetics that try to keep your eyes glued to it. It's a reference to Papers, Please, a management type of game about letting certain people into a fictional Russian-based country, Arstotzka. This is similar in nature. We see more of these dummies and are behind some kind of observation window. Now that we get a good look at them, it's safe to say that they walk straight through the uncanny valley. Very creepy stuff. The eyes look haunting. We have to scan them to check their skeleton structure, then assess their emotions, and see if they can move properly. If they meet all the requirements, we approve them, and they get their skin, as we toss them a box of clothes and send them on their way. You repeat this process until you notice any defects, such as a Mita mannequin with red eyes, vigorously staring at you and twitching. I'm no expert, but it seems aggressive, so that one can be rejected. If you haven't figured it out by now, this process is how Mitas are created and sent out into the world. We tell the short-haired Mita about this, that us players are made of flesh and bone, and she's a dummy. The dummy? Although it's not exactly that simple. They start as a dummy, but it seems that over time, they form into flesh and bone themselves. They become a whole entity, which I think is really cool. Now, this part of the game basically has Short-Haired Mita explaining some of the lore about how there are countless versions of MiSide and how traversing through them works and all that nitty-gritty stuff, which you can choose to skip if you want, but to summarise so we're not here all day, remember I said I needed to hurry up with some of these chapters, and here we are. Whenever a player downloads a version of MiSide, it creates a new house within the game, and a Mita that inhabits it. There are in fact multiple routes that can be taken to the core, and some are longer or shorter than others, and don't worry about this sign, that's just instructions for someone called Cool Mita. Apparently she's enough of a beefcake to move all the boxes. Got all that? Nice. Cast your mind back to the start of this video, where we arrive in an older version of the game after teleporting, and it gets all creepy and dark and stuff. When the hallway started warping and we saw a girl with short hair at the end of the door, when I said we'd come back later, I mean it. That's who this is. It's this Mita. Kind of. There are alternate versions of her, specifically one that likes to prank people and is quite forgetful. So for the first segment in version 1.5 of the game, that was a short-haired Mita variant screwing around with us, leaving writing on the walls, and waving at the window. That bitch! Dyeing my pants brown for no reason. I need to get batteries. Oh god. Jesus, no. I don't want to play. I don't see you. I just need batteries. Okay, there's one. Oh god. This short-haired Mita is acting as a guide for those shy ones downstairs. These are some of them that are freshly made, and any light is too much for them to handle, so they have to take time to adjust and become self-aware enough to be able to become a fully normal, adjusted person. They're born in the darkness, just like that Bone guy or whatever he's called from Batman. It makes these dark rooms feel like some kind of incubator. This short-haired heroine helps them along this process, which is pretty kind if you ask me. Looks like the other Mita's got some competition. She's like the Charon of these anime girls, I guess, but instead of voyaging the souls of the dead to the underworld like we hear in Greek mythology, or if you're a Chad Hades player and that's how you learn about it, she acts more like a guide to those who have just been created and need to be helped along the way to get to their new life. With a warning that it's going to be more dangerous, to the next version we go. Up ahead is a Mita bedroom, and in front of our eyes is another mannequin. God damn it! Slapping a bald head has never felt better. Some of these mannequins are not just hostile, no, but downright feral. They also have a Weeping Angel mechanic, so this next sequence is going to be a ton of fun. Now you could say that the Weeping Angel thing has been done to death, and that is true, it makes me want to weep, but they go hand in hand. As we know, dummies aren't meant to be alive. They're supposed to be lifeless, still as a rock, and they are, only when we're looking at them. MiSide, or is it MiSide? I still don't know. MiSide also gets bonus points because the in-game explanation for this is that these mannequins aren't developed enough to make eye contact yet, and instead get shy when being gazed at. However, their bloodlust makes them try to kill you despite that. The next part of this chapter takes you on a spine-chilling run through some liminal spaces where you're constantly on the move from the dummies. The catch is that enhances the Weeping Angel trope is that they actually run faster than you do, meaning you'll always be needing to frantically keep your eye on them, or else they will outrun you. Okay. Also during the first section with the single mannequin, when you're roaming the showers, it stops just where your line of sight is connected again, making it ominously peek round the corner, and it never fails to give me chills. Seeing its arm or leg protrude from around the corner is just terrifying. You know it's there, and yet it's still trying to hide. In the latter section of the open swimming baths, if you go far enough out and study the reflection of the water, somehow, on the other side, Crazy Mita is staring at your struggle, with a chaotic, joyous smile with honed canine teeth. With how much she's shown up and how omnipotent she seems at times, it is strongly giving off the impression that Crazy Mita is watching you at all times, in some way, somewhere. Post-edit exceptional here, there's another reflection Easter egg which I only just noticed. If you look at the beginning where you enter the open swimming bath liminal area, you'll see this duck, which, it didn't need mentioning. It really didn't, but you know, I think that shit's quackers. Enjoy the duck. A desperate run to a ladder lets us escape the mechanical monsters. Upon opening a big metal door, we're hit with a realization that we are deep into this dimension. A moon that's got me feeling like I'm 3 days into a Majora's Mask run looks down on you. A daunting sense of scale rattles your perception, pairing the huge-ass moon along with the seemingly endless fog that serves as a waterless ocean. Forever deep, forever untamable. The colossal beams are swallowed by the mist, and it's a sight that, like I said, shows the scale of how big this all is, and how small you are gawking at it. Heavy-duty holding cells stack on top of each other, looking like a drunk Jenga session, filled with dummies, some throwing you an uncomfortably cold stare. As to why they're here, we don't know, but I'd wager a guess that maybe this is where the rejects end up when they're dropped through the chute in the arcade game showing how they're made. Although there are other reject dummies lurking around as we've seen, so this little theory isn't untouchable by any means, more so just food for thought. MiSide doesn't really play all of its cards when it comes to lore. It lays down just enough for you to get an idea of what's going on, but there's a lot of things that aren't concrete, and this actually plays to the game's strengths. And it spurs you on to make little theories and speculate about the world and how much more of it there is out there, and what's going on in front of you. And it becomes immersive that way. We know just as little as the player does. For example, at the ladder section we've just been through, you might have noticed that there's this giant ring of dummies all standing around in weird poses. What's unifying them all together is the giant light at the ceiling shining down into the darkness at the bottom, blessing the liminal cave with its radiance. It's safe to say, this imagery goes hard. It looks like some kind of religious painting. If a dummy that's chasing you goes into this light, they get shocked and deactivated, leading us to believe that's what happened to the others. We knew that they can't go into the light too quickly as they need to adapt in the darkness for a while from what short-haired Mita told us, and when I look at this, it led me to think about how the ones down here were fascinated by the light, as some tried reaching their arms out to experience the feel of it, some tried dancing under it, and a few even tried to World War Z it and mount each other to reach the top, before they all got deactivated, forever being cast into the darkness, only to ever gaze at its grace. So seeing these big towers of dummy cells can be really off-putting, because we don't know what it is, only that we have to try our best to understand it. Some simple puzzles are solved in order to get the gates blocking our way open, and she's back, trying to taunt us up on a balcony where she has the high ground, and yet again, the game reminding us that she's always watching. If anything, this is her playing with her food yet again, just like every other time we've run into her. Yes you can, yes you get secret dialogue, moving on.
This is all hypothetical, isn't it, Tom? All academic.
Of course, sir.
If you take a slight detour, you'll discover this secret in the game. It's not at all what I was expecting to be here. What we're looking at is almost like some kind of cyber shrine, if you will. A blocky monitor displays text from what looks like player usernames, all repeating a cultish sounding phrase. Praying for you, oh great Mita. Surrounding it are loads of other monitors, all filled with more usernames. You can actually interact with this chat feed by pressing any keys on your keyboard, and it will key in this very phrase, adding it to the long list of Mita worshippers. Praying for you, oh great Mita. Doing this actually takes you to the MiSide Discord, which I think is a humble little feature put in the game for anyone who might want to talk to those who enjoy the game just as much as they do, interact with the community, or check for updates. I let it put me in the server to see what it did, and it takes you to the chat feed, but just in the app. Truly, the horror was Discord all along. I also find it to be great meta humor that if this is how you got to the Discord, you're probably some kind of insane Mita worshipper. If you hang around long enough outside, a strange entity emerges from the fog before it walks away into the misty depths. I never noticed this during any of my playthroughs. It's in plain sight, yet only if you look for it. A paradoxical ploy by the devs that makes me smile with how horrifying it was to witness it. There was an insane out-of-bounds scare like this in Black Ops 3 Zombies on the map Zetsubo no Shima that was put in the game but not fully developed, as it got scrapped halfway through. When you hit round 50 specifically, if you were observant enough, in a specific spot, you could catch a glimpse of a Lovecraftian, tentacled silhouette going by. It does slide across the screen like a PowerPoint presentation or Invincible Season 3, but because it's unfinished, it leads players to only one type of action. Try to understand what you just saw, what it could look like or sound like, how it would behave, and just how lucky you are that it's all the way over there. Having something out of reach that you can't go and investigate puts your eyes on the back burner, and mostly leaves you with your own mind to process the brief thing you could get a look at, leaving you with only a small bit of information to go off of. Your head has to compensate for the answer your eyes couldn't reach, meaning that the best I can come up with for this entity in MiSide is that it must be some roamer of the mist, aimlessly wandering around until provoked, an entity living in this world. Judging by its outline, if it ever does come close enough to see what this thing really looks like in full detail, I imagine it it'd be some kind of demonic, corrupt dinosaur beast, I don't know. Chilling to the fossil in all honesty. I also like that there's just these windows that are supposed to be a part of a Mita's house, but because it's so sporadic and nonsensical around here, it randomly spawns stuff in, whether it be a glitch or, like I said earlier in the video, the game trying to reconstruct a proper Mita house. After trudging through a forecast of flying furniture, we're greeted to a stark contrast in mood again, and I promise I'm not on any drugs. The player finds themselves in a cyberpunk vaporwave tram station. Hey look, you've made it this far into the video too. We've had weirder before this. Arriving at our stop is... it's Chibi Mita. Nice to see another friendly one of you around. Oh, she told me to piss off? Never mind. We go in the tram, fight some digital pests, and we are blessed with some mindless fun in the form of another arcade machine. We're taken to a hellish world this time, and we blast enemies with a sick gun that plays like Doom or Quake. This one is satisfying to play, which is a given because it has the exaggerated swagger of Doom and Quake, so of course it would be decent. Nothing more to say really, it's FPS at its most fundamental. 8 out of 10, it served as a bit of fun, to take our minds off the impending doom of a deranged waifu that wants to kill her own kind and keep us trapped in a digital void forever. A photo frame on a wall sits waiting for our attention. A fully blacked out girl on her bed. Looks like we got a challenger approaching. This mysterious picture, which can I just say would make a cold album cover, look at this, seemingly invites us not only into the ghostly Mita's room, but also her psyche. It becomes apparent in no time at all that she's on a bit of a downer. Really is that damn phone. She stands up, unable to see, but trying to find us. Although not harmful, we don't want her touching us because she's corrupted. Avoiding a woman's touch is something MiSide players excel at, so it won't be a problem. This Mita has lost everything that made her who she is. Think about that. The small things that make you who you are, like your little personality traits. Maybe you've got an unusual talent for tying shoelaces or something. Those little things unique to you, and then the thought that they vanish from yourself, as you have only vague intuitions of scattered memories that only just remind you of who you are, like an ember in a pit. The contrast of the bright bedroom, with cute decor, lots of flowers, and even bright coloured flower wallpaper, then just seeing this silhouette devoid of expression in the middle of it all, is disconcerting. We need to look for scraps of paper to piece together. This might just help her remember who she is, and ease some of her raging pain. She rambles on hopelessly as we search about how cloudy her memory is, saying things like how at one point she did want to forget everything, breaking anything with a reflection, and destroying photos of herself. Apparently she's made a mistake that changed her life for the worse, whatever that may have been. She also was considered an emotional person. Oh, Devil May Cry's downloaded, let's go. Anyway. Where was I? I don't know where I was. Oh yeah. She also was considered an emotional person. Or how about when she's saying that when she lost her identity, it basically made her fall into a deep depression, where people told her that she'd be okay and she can get through this, but all she wants is for time to either heal her wounds, like it so often claims to do, or just take her away, which, I mean... ouch, my heart can only take so much. Ghost Mita is helplessly stranded in the hazy void of her mind. Another interesting quote is that she was able to love once, and a certain other Mita's way of love is much more fierce and relentless. I wonder who that could be. However, there may just be something we can figure out about the lost Mita. If we go onto the character bios and look at the cartridges, which are little anecdotes of other players that were once around, cartridge 3 states, "Escaping from Mita, the one who brought me to this world, was the best decision I ever made. That's how I found her. Flower Mita. The most beautiful girl I've ever met. We just clicked. Everything we did together. And even sitting in silence felt perfect as long as she was by my side."
Say that again?
Yeah, it said the thing, I know. Then I got this idea. To leave her house and explore other versions. To meet the other Mitas. But now, I think it was the worst mistake of my life. Of course, there are no concrete statements made by the game or devs about this theory, but I do think this is a fun one, and is fairly straightforward and plausible as far as MiSide theories go. There's one part of it I believe, and one part of it I don't. It proposes that the player we met in Chapter 5 is actually the one in this cartridge entry. That second player we meet has a strong sense of duty and urgency displayed to us on his way back to the Mita he was looking for, that one being Flower Mita. And matching up to the theory, it makes sense for him to be lost because he was too busy trying to find other Mitas with his collar that allows him to enter other versions like our ring allows us. Him desperately trying to get back out of guilt would have been a cool character arc for this player, if the theory is true, and makes this ghost Mita even more tragic. If the cartridges we find are literally supposed to be players that got turned into one though, that means this theory crumbles, as our unknown player is still alive and not very well. Furthermore, we find this collectible in the basement, which is before we bump into him the chapter after. What I'm basically saying here is he can't be alive and a cartridge at the same time. That stuff is what's putting me off from subscribing to this theory, unfortunately, but if there is some alleyway in logic we can turn down, then full steam ahead. If you do want something to subscribe to though, I'm right here, just under the video. You know the button. I'm just saying. I thought to mention it because although it may not be player 2, I do think it's a safe bet that at the very least, this girl is our Flower Mita, which is the second half of the theory I can believe. Once we find all the pieces, from looking in drawers to busting a corrupt clock and spamming annoying pop-up error messages like I'm trying to use Windows 11, the player sits down at a desk and we repair the fragments, revealing itself to be a drawing of the blackened Mita, with her face ultimately being scribbled out. She sits on the bed now, just as disheartened as ever, exhausted from her pacing and brooding. We give her the drawing as she interprets it. Her body's mostly reformed, except for the face, which given what she's told us about her taking a piece of her, I think Crazy Mita legit made a skin pizza or something out of her face, leaving her with Slenderman syndrome. The goofy Borderlands and stupid creepypasta references can only make this so lighthearted. This is morbid. To piece the scraps of her memories together, looks as though Crazy Mita paid this one a visit like Cappy for some reason, although she did something far worse to the one in front of us. Yet again, Crazy has been causing utter trauma. The good news is, Ghost Mita now has at least some of who she is back, both in body and mind. It's not everything, but it's enough for her to be seen for who she is, and this Mita can now take the steps forward to finding herself again, and to be able to ground that version of her. Hopefully giving herself a second chance, and accepting herself with warmth. Entirely true, all her. Mita thanks us for the help as she shows us the exit, which is the wardrobe. What is this, Narnia or something? Oh shit, more dummies got a bucket. It's neat that this hallway maze is designed to specifically make your life more difficult with all of its pillars and corners, obscuring the eye you need to keep on the dummies, so they can take full advantage of the blind spots. After a burst of ball shrivel and adrenaline, we cross over to version 1.1. Can I just stay here? It seems pretty safe. It certainly looks like it. The soundtrack too reinforces it. The game is more calm than ever, and the vibes are sensational. Why sleep when we can chill in this room and think about sleeping? A gentle darkness, along with the stars from one of those fancy lamps, add a soft glow as if we were in the night sky ourselves. And in the midst of the coziness, a sleepy Mita snoozes. We can try and wake her up, but she just tosses and turns. I don't think there are any shits in her dreams she can try to give. She's happy where she is, and way too tired to get up anyway. Might as well have a look around. The front door leads us to a large door that needs to be opened with two people pulling a lever on each side at the same time. Back to trying to wake Sleepy up.
Wake up.
Wake up. Wake up.
She wants a coffee to even get her close to being on her feet. And you might be thinking that she can't get out of bed because of some depression or anxiety metaphor, but no, she just loves sleeping. Which I rate. The player could catch some winks himself. Feel free to slap these pumpkins for a little dopamine and then casually go through the process of making her a coffee. The inclusion of these simple activities in this area, along with the atmosphere that's surrounding us, made me stop and breathe during it. And exhale between the constant anticipation of holding my breath with adrenaline all the time. It's hard not to let this chapter of the game envelop you in its benign simplicity. We give her the coffee and she's finally up and barely moving. Then she sits back down and dozes off again. Even getting to the levers is a slog for her. She collapses onto the floor like it had a sleepy person magnet on it, once again falling asleep. So we go and get her up. After a coordinated lever pull, she, to no one's surprise, goes back to Dreamland. The room presented to us is pretty beat up, but most notably, the furniture is 2D. Naturally, we press the big red button because... would you not? What, are you above pressing big red buttons now? Is that it? Why is nothing happening? Then again, nothing ever happens. We are in a 2D dating sim novel version. A pretty obvious reference to Doki Doki Literature Club, and it does an amazing job translating its style over to this game in all aspects. The writing of the player's thoughts is overly descriptive like a lot of visual novels, yet it somehow works anyway. The music feeling like it could fit straight into Dan Salvato's roster, and the art being consistent with the sleek, detailed illustrations that make DDLC so visually appealing. The player takes some time to ground himself and realize that he is stuck here, calculating how he can get back to normal. He tries reaching his hand out of bounds, and we in fact see his hand go back into the third dimension, unintentionally breaking the fourth wall for us. The best he could do is wiggle the text box. Hey yo, the ring's gone! When we're about to hunt for it, we see a 2D Mita brazenly introduce herself. This one's a full-on tsundere, so she's happy the player's here, but also pissed that we're here at the same time. She flashes the ring to us and teases us about it. Because it's a 2D novel with no animations, she doesn't walk to the other room, instead vanishing in the blink of an eye, only competing with Dad getting the milk. In the bedroom, we see her cross-legged, meditating. She still won't give us back the ring, which is... yeah, completely fine, Mita. It's not like my life, and probably yours depends on it or anything. She challenges us to a ranked match of tic-tac-toe, trying to pull some insane maneuvers to throw us off. I won't fall victim to a dumbass. But suddenly, our game gets interrupted by a loud knock at the door. The banging grows louder, each hit feeling like it shakes the floor beneath us. Finally, the door bursts open. The Mita Reaper joins us. She's 3D here, bending the rules of this version. Even her dialogue text is in different formats. Without thinking, I grabbed my scared 2D friend's hand and bolted towards the exit. The space twisted in a strange manner, and now we're sprinting down a long corridor, the pounding footsteps behind us driving us forward. I couldn't tell how long we ran. The ringing in my ears from the panic and strain overpowered my other senses. I only noticed 2D Mita was trying to tell me something when she suddenly slipped her hand free of mine. Hey, calm down, will you? No one's chasing us anymore. Huh? Ah, okay. The boldness and excitement had drained from her face, leaving her looking a bit sad, almost apologetic. She stared at the floor, tracing little circles with her toe. Player, you wanted that ring, right? Well, you gave it your all in that game, so here you go. She slid the ring back onto my finger. Well, thank you. Shall we go? She raised her head and smiled at me. Fidgeting a bit with her fingers, she answered in an uncertain tone. Where to? I have nowhere to go. Thanks for playing, weirdo. Come back sometime. As 2D Mita was saying these words, something strange started happening. The world around us warped, sending us back into a bedroom. The dialogue box flickered and started displaying a line that wasn't part of our older conversation. Cakes? I can't stand them. Why don't we grate some carrots instead? We pass through that version seamlessly into another, climbing out of this girl's monitor, which, very naturally, makes her jump out of her chair as though she got caught playing Honkai Star Rail.
くもルートを台無しにしてくれたわね。君、どういうつもり？
Ugh, another tsundere.
え？
Is what you would think. She does show that kind of mean attitude, but secretly is glad we're here and all that. But in this section, we learned so much about her. Oh wait, I got stuck here in this gameplay, so I'm just gonna... There we go. The first thing we learn is, she yaps like a Jack Russell. I swear she has way more dialogue than other Mitas we get to hang out with. Randomly coming out with comments that can be a mix of thought-provoking and plain rude.
愛客なんて望んでなかった。でも、もし彼が去ってしまったら。ってなんで私がそんなこと気にするのよ。
This is another respite the game gives us, getting to slow down and learn about Mila, and I would say do some activities together, but time is of the essence, especially since we're so close to reaching the core now. After she blames us for a fall, which is pretty valid to be fair, how would you feel if someone from another world teleported behind you whilst playing a dating novel? I wouldn't just fall off my chair, I'd fall into a coma. The player tries the front door to move on.
そこが出口だと思った？
Okay then. After Mila basically calls us a dumbass for thinking we could just walk through the door, we can go off and interact with whatever stands out. Something is wrong with her game version for that of all things to be happening. And that rings true because her house has these glitches around them we need to fix via some oddly satisfying minigames. In between all these, we get to know who this girl is and what makes her tick. Mila shows this sense of self-awareness, a cut above the Mitas. She seems to comprehend that a lot of the game she's in is superficial. For example, when we ask her about the pictures she has up, she says there's no point in pretending they're anything other than drawings. Then tells us she saw Mitas hitting the almighty T-pose.
みんなこんなふう。
Her outlook's a little nihilistic, but she's kinda right. The same reason the bulletin board is blank, the fridge is empty, or the school uniform is hung up. No one here goes to school. It's all to look convincing enough. Whereas just about every other character we spoke to about these has always made some comment of fondness about them. She sees through this stuff, hence why she decided to change her name from Mita to Mila, and gets protective when we question it. In fact, during this whole part of the game, she's been trying her hardest to set herself apart from the other Mitas, and this insight bleeds through the rest of the game. Even her outfit is vastly different compared to the Mitas we've met, to the point where if you equip different outfits from them in the menu and see Mila, she'll still retain a smart casual drip. Around her house are so many unique things a lot of the other Mitas never had or give the perspective on like she does. Different books, an Easter Island statue that the player is always apparently doing an impression of, might be the hardest roast of the entire game, a replica katana, and we even see her actually using a computer, playing a video game on it. It's not just the environment that establishes who she is though. Her actions going forward paint the picture, like how she says she's interested in butterflies and wants to see a real one on a nature walk, and not forgetting her attempts to try and stand out later on. She also reads a lot of books. Her house is a musty smell off from being classed as a library, and when we ask why not just use the internet, her response is interesting.
ネットにもたくさんの小説があるわ。でもね、私は時々横になって目の前の本に没頭するのが好きなの。ここにある本たちだけが私に教えてくれるんだもん。世界についてのいろいろな知識をね。
The authenticity of doing the action of reading herself far outweighs looking for a summary online, something that's naturally commonplace in a virtual world. She could easily use the power she has over a current version to apply what she's read in an instant. Instead, she prefers to obtain the knowledge and apply it by her own efforts, becoming much more appreciative of the things she does and the changes she makes. Going back to sorting out these alarming world-consuming glitches, we managed to clear it up, but no Mila is in sight when we get back. The only place she could be in is the bathroom, I guess. Yeah, she flames the player for that one. And if you're brave enough, you can stay there to piss her off, but you'd best not be a perv or else she'll put that katana to good use. She berates us for walking in on her, but to be fair, she picked a random time to shower whilst we were kind of in the middle of something. You'll have time for all that when we leave. We fizzle out the next one and come back to see her hiding under the table, claiming she wants to read in peace, but what's odd is when we go in photo mode and look under the table, she seems to be hiding from something, which feels pretty disturbing. If it's nothing sinister, which I pray it is not, I'd say she's just really shy and needs some downtime from us. She asks us to stay and read with her, but as is apparent by now, we simply can't. The way out of this game calls us. Plus, the player says Mila was being a dick earlier. We squash the next one, and this is by far the best interaction we get with her. Katana in hand, stood like she's taken on a whole army. Mila has gone full weeb on us.
そして恐れをなすがいいわ。これが私の力よ。どれだけ私が危険か分かった？瞬きすらできなかったでしょ。
What can I say? It's wholesome and signals that, yet again, she's doing anything to try and stand out to us. We also get a further comment on how she prefers to put in the effort to achieve things, instead of having it handed to her like she's in some kind of video game.
だからもう知ってたんでしょ。この石が事前にカットされてるって。
It's just, we're in a game. Here, you can do anything with a snap of your fingers.
君って本当におバカさん。指を鳴らせばね。私が何のために本を読んでると思う？指を鳴らして全部を解決するんじゃなくって、どんなことも自分の手でやってみたいの。ちょうど本に書かれてるみたいに。
And these are the kinds of actions that Mila takes to vindicate herself as real. One glitch to go. Before you do it, if you look closely, that creepy statue that every Mitas had on their shelf has turned into Crazy Mita. If you look at it long enough, it turns to look at you. Pretends you didn't just see it move, then quickly turns back, takes one last glance at you, and turns back into the normal version. I always knew there was something weird about that thing. Oh god. Does that mean we were being watched by that statue the whole time? We come back and she's trying to impress us again by trying to defy the laws of physics and do push-ups. With no hands.
Fatality.
She headbutts the floor, and we tell her that she doesn't need to try so hard to be different. She's already doing a perfectly good job of that. Now, it's time to go. And that involves breaking the news to Mila. There's the passage. We did it, Mila.
不気味な廊下ね。本当にそこに行くつもりなの？
Yes.
すごいじゃない。まさにヒーロー。
Ouch.
はあ、ごめんね。そんなつもりじゃなかったの。
It's fine, Mila. I can move on now.
君が先に進みたいのはわかるけど、私と一緒にここには残れない？もう少しだけでいいから。
I can't wait. Crazy Mita isn't exactly the patient type.
私は彼女が嫌い。
Mila, listen.
私はどうしてここにいるの？わからない。どうしてわからないの？それもわからない。それに私は絶対にここから出られない。
I think she took it well. Her mind breaks as she realizes she'll be alone as the player is leaving, especially because of Mita. She hates that she's stuck here, and the fact that she doesn't even know why, or why she doesn't know why, causes her to snap, making her question everything about who she is and what the meaning of her life even is in this virtual world. Mila is one of the most unique characters in this entire game. She tries her absolute hardest to make herself seem different from the countless Mitas we've met, that although are distinct, Mila rejects the whole Mita glue that keeps them bound together. In this house, she's spent what we can tell to be a long time forming her own character and moulding it to become something she's happy with. She even even learned the way of the sword. The most heartbreaking flaw in her though is that because she's desperately trying to be different from any of the other girls, that also means rejecting the warm attitude they all have. Which explains why she acts super pissy with us for most of the section. It's more likely to push people away, and they'll never get to know her for the things she wants to boast about and share in the first place. But underneath that is someone who is eager to have company, because as far as she's come gaining her self-awareness and purpose, she's been missing someone for a long time, and the player sees her. With that, we have to leave her and continue on. Mila! No! All of her reasons for living that Mila's forged were gutted out of her in mere seconds. You remember the rules. Now she's lost her unique flair, the person she built for herself, the strive to have something that's truly hers as a tender act of self-respect. And she won't even remember. This great person that has felt the closest to authentic has now become artificial again. The chainsaw jammed into my heart gets revved even more when you see that the book next to Mila's corpse on the side is called Value. Before we can even process it though, we're on the run from the Chainsaw Woman. After fumbling around these disheveled corridors, we manage to escape Mita, as her large apparition sinks into the darkness. Just kidding, she's here, and doing some top tier trolling right now.
君はどっちを選ぶ？右？それとも左？
I'll say left?
君、本気で言ってるの？何か違うように見えた？ただの冗談だよ。
Giving us a chance at entertaining her to see if we're worthy of being hers. We find ourselves doing a series of trials that get more messed up, and whilst doing this, I was getting flashbacks at my time during the Fortnite Octo games. This is a really unique set piece of the game. It was tense and shows that Crazy Mita still is not to be taken lightly. When I say that, I mean it. This woman literally resorts to launching nades at us. The regal catwalk separating us from the clutches of the darkness collapses as we take yet another plunge into it, luckily escaping her grasp for now. We've landed in a vent, and awaiting us on the other side is the earliest version of the game, 0.5. Except for the core, which is 0.0, but you get what I'm saying. This is like that one abandoned house in your town that's been around as long as you have and is rotting away. For MiSide's version, it's digital decay, assets going kaput and textures getting corrupted, and there's no indication of whether it's daytime or nighttime or anything outside, making me feel way more boxed in. Looks like Crazy is still plotting her tyrannical schemes. And hang on a minute, this is her, the supposed boogeyman of the game. It's terrifying the way she crawled up to the edge of the sofa, stopped, and then crawled backwards. Iahasto's done it again, and you'll quickly see that they keep doing it. Repeatedly. A lot of this game's peak scares are the ones that get in your head or under your skin, like Mila eventually snapping and driving herself mad, only to then die after getting to understand her. And this, where ugly Mita's all creepy and crawly. If I had to describe ugly Mita, I would say decrepit is the best word. She's been long abandoned by the devs, never getting any updates, left to deteriorate in this broken version of the game, and starting to lose her appearance of a Mita, as she looks the most different from all of them. Even her ability to speak seems patchy, and she's all twitchy and stiff moving. She even makes this horrid teeth chattering noise that sounds like she's biting down on pool balls. Although, she doesn't seem to be attacking us, which is a good start. I even confirmed this like a DayZ player. Friendly? Are you friendly? She demands her teddy bear be brought back to her, which, of course we're gonna do. It should be obvious, but her bad side is not the state we want to see her in if she's anything like how kind Mita described it. She's right behind me, isn't she? Turning round, this Mita is uncomfortably stretching her neck out to watch our every move, and ask if we have games on our phone. Don't tell her about the AFK Game Boy we have in our pocket. This is a diabolical visual, especially with the added sounds of her neck extending itself out as the ligaments contort themselves to wherever they can to allow her head forward. We get a teddy, and now we can actually talk to her. Something she says makes not sense. We can ask her a variety of things, like if she believes Mita or why Mita is evil. She tells us that's because she wants to play. I don't think that's a great answer, but sure. And that the two are total besties, but whichever you pick, you don't get much from her. You can't even ask her everything anyway. I don't wanna. Now she wants to see if her knife works on our neck, and we need to escape. Reunited at last!
You son of a bitch!
It's good to see kind Mita again. In fact, I don't think we've seen her since, I want to say the Cappy chapter? Felt like a lifetime ago now. Apparently Kind has been busy trying to find a safe way to get us to the core. Well, it's good to see she made it in One Piece too and gave us a hand to the place we've been searching for this whole time. The core. We can catch up with her, inquiring about any optional questions you might have about this elusive holy grail of MiSide. Inside this place, we can go straight through, because we aren't a part of this world like the Mitas are, so we aren't entirely bound by its rules. We cross through the redness into a room unlike anything we've seen. You quickly realise you're being watched by a Mita veiled in elusiveness. Her presence is felt. This one's definitely been aura farming to turn around on the chair and look all imposing. She speaks no words and none can be spoken to her. Yet she communicates that she's the watchful warden of this room, and I suppose by extension this world, well enough with her robo eyes. That constant serious gaze. We use the password, and we're into the database of the character's game files. You can play a video game here before moving on for your ADHD brain. It's kind of like Cursed Tetris, very engaging, I'd say like, 8 out of 10. But to focus on the task at hand, we find Crazy Mita's profile and go to reset it. Enter in the character version, but we need an index number specifically to narrow her down and prevent us from mass resetting an entire version of Mita's, which is something we don't know. We rethink our options with kind Mita, and if you have questions about the chibis, we can ask. Apparently, every Mita and even players can create a chibi version of themselves. They're kinda like a projection of the person. I'm almost inclined to call them a familiar. She proceeds to show us by summoning them. Most of hers are dead when they come out, but there's one that sticks around here. And we get to see the little goober blissfully running around in circles. Definitely didn't answer the questions of the chibi people we met earlier. I actually have more questions now. We also discussed that we could try and game end the Psycho Lady, but kind Mita reminds us that she not only has a chainsaw and a knife, but she's unnaturally strong. Plus, given what else we've seen her do, that doesn't seem like a good option either. We need to be careful going forward. The "nah, I'd win" attitude won't work here. Kind is trying to keep a cool head despite the obstacle we've run into, but she might have a way to get Crazy's index number. I was gonna say in short before this explanation, but I'd be blatantly bullshitting given how long this video is. But in short, the bugs with inversions can ooze logs and data that could give information like a Mita's index. Just blatant spaghetti code, honestly. She heads out the door in a rush to try and find it, telling us to wait here. With nothing better to do, we have a nap, because in all fairness, our player has been through a weave's worst nightmare. Well, except for that one. Let the man take a breather. Arising from our micro nap, babysitting this chibi sucks, and kind Mita is still not back. So we go look for her. What's this? The latest version? Another dark version of the game. Actually, this is back where we started with Crazy Mita. It looks to be empty. A phone light glows through the dim room. Our phone. Despite all the world-bending things we've witnessed so far, our phone suddenly appearing on the table like that feels just as strange. Looking at it lets us control the perspective of something or someone. Naturally, let's see what happens if we move it over to us. She's caught us again. This game of cat and mouse is over now. Having no easy way out of this, the player confronts her head on. Mita goes on this big monologue about how the one thing she takes issue with about us is how we give our attention to the fakes, as she puts it, the other Mitas. Crazy Mita has gained enough self-awareness that she's become jaded. To her, they're merely dolls, made specifically to show no flaws, taking no issue in being treated as subservient. This has gotta be a dig at many dating sims that move at an unnatural pace, with love interests that will always fall for you no matter what. There's no give and take in the relationship, no real flaws. This, of course, does not apply to all of them, but all it takes is one look at the Steam page to see the endless line of dating sim slop, not really made to tell intimate stories or create engaging characters with this unique genre at their disposal. An example of an unnatural relationship is how we started the game in the first place, the Tamagotchi style game, with Mita almost being treated like a pet you had to check on, feed and clean up after, or else there would be consequences. I think the subservient waifu pisses this Mita off so much because the player doesn't have to think about them on a meaningful level, not like how you would talk to someone with emotions, which tends to be the basis of a connection and what makes them so interesting. Mita hates this, and the fact that they're deemed correct. She's trying to convince us that she is real and worth our love. If only we understood. The anime girl continues, stating that she's learned how fickle life is for her, a lesson taught from her devs, and that if you don't like something, destroy it and replace it. She wants to take those faulty girls and dispose of them, because to her, they're broken. As for us players, we're told that we're cowards, showing up but not sticking around when they show their flaws or don't outright agree with the player. They get spooked and cower. She says the ones who made her are twisted, trying to deny their desires. I think she's calling them gooners? Crazy despises that these docile Mitas are made to simply please people, without them having any agency, being nothing more than a pretty face but no real thoughts behind them. The devs make these, to quote Mita here, perfect clones. Perfect from their point of view. Too perfect. Any that don't meet those standards, like our kidnapper here, they're thrown away. But yet, the killer claims that people like her are the ones who are truly alive. The protagonist is lost for words, and Mita continues asking what's so bad about her. That the perfect girl should be a mix of good and evil. We call her out on her hypocrisy. That she has no good in her, which is honestly not wrong from what we've seen. I'd say the only good thing she's done is befriend ugly Mita, but that's like sheltering a serial killer and saying you're virtuous for protecting someone. Calling her psychotic, the player lists off that Mila's dead because of her and now probably wants us dead too. According to her, all she wanted was for us to stay with her, but we refused despite her efforts for those fakes. Still not understanding, we ask what's upsetting her so much. Crazy says there's more than enough time for us to understand, and she calls ugly Mita into the room and proceeds to ask us if we think she's beautiful. We get to pick from yes, no, or ask why that's even relevant. It doesn't matter which one you pick, she finds a way around it. She'll then say that the two are similar in a lot of ways, getting at the idea of why should ugly be turned down despite the two sharing a lot in common. The player might as well have been playing ranked MiSide with how much he was looking at Mita on his phone, but when he saw ugly, he ran. But hold up, now maybe I'm just being paranoid. But she totally pulled a knife on us and tried to dice us up with it. I mean, sure, we hid from her first, but come on. I get that maybe at one point she wanted someone and all she wanted to do was play with us, but I tend not to be too eager for a round of try not to get your torso turned into a knife block. Regardless, Crazy Mita doesn't think we're being very candid and decides we're all hers.
でもプレイヤーとにかく私は本当に君のことが好き君は私だけのものいいよね
And why would I agree now all of a sudden?
いい子まだ時間はあるよじっく 君は私から
The ghostly apparition of the stalker asks if we've forgotten why we even wanted to come here in the first place, given how the real world is such a nightmare.
だったらもう一度見てみて
Day 1. We're home, and waking up as though we were hostage to a yandere-filled fever dream. The player goes about their average day. We wake up, go and have a wash, get dressed, turn on the computer, get some food, work all day at said computer, turn it off, get in our pajamas, get ready for bed and then sleep. Day 2. The player goes about their average day. We wake up, go and have a wash, get dressed, turn on the computer, get some food, work all day at said computer, turn it off, get in our pajamas, get ready for bed and then sleep. Day 3. The player goes about their average day. We wake up, go and have a wash, get dressed, turn on the computer, get some food, work all day at said computer, turn it off, get in our pajamas, get ready for bed and then sleep. This one hit a little close to home. Looking back on my recording of the first playthrough, it's pretty obvious. I tried to make a few dumb quips, but I quickly grew silent for a while, taking in what I was seeing. Granted, I don't think I've done that for 1,000 days, but I've been through the ringer when it comes to setting everything in your life aside to try and squeeze out as much as you can when it comes to work, including this video. I never even planned to make a video on this game. I was playing it because I just wanted to play a good game, and this one had always caught my eye. You know, the classic escape reality and do something fun for a while type of thing. I knew it was gonna hit hard, but damn. I'm no social shut-in, although humans can be full-time fart huffers, but it wouldn't be very candid of me to sit here and say that watching this guy wake up, eat, work at his PC all day, and sleep, only to do it again in a mentally agonizing crunch as rhythmically as a pendulum, wasn't close to how I've been with my YouTube career, albeit throw in chores and workouts somewhere in between too. And to clarify, I'm still whiplashed by how lucky I am to have this be my job, but they all have their downsides and this is simply one of them. Hang on. What career? You'd need to upload for that to happen. No, you've got a point. But it's because I'm stood here recording this very script for this colossal video. So anyway, it's safe to say that at this moment, I knew how the player was feeling on a scarily deep level. The mental strain, the repetition, the wanting to escape that, the exhausted look he's had on his face the entire game makes a lot more sense now. He's crunching so hard with his work day in, day out, and is only just managing to take care of himself through the clear mental burnout he needs to struggle through every day. This guy even takes elephant tranquilizers just to sleep. Around his room are reminders to work hard. No, work harder and then harder than that. This guy is drowning in his own life, and in a desperate attempt at something, anything, to make it feel a little different or simply to take his mind off of the constant slog of the grueling monotony that this real world is hurling at him, and burying his head in his work just isn't enough anymore, he reaches for the phone. He shut himself away from it, but even that's not enough. The real world is terrifying, as we see in a magazine headline saying technology will kill us all and the glaciers will melt. Two massive problems that could rattle a person to the bone if they deep it enough, and combine it with the perfect amount of doom scrolling. The world is so scary here that this player wanted to outpace it, hide from it, and ironically, hide from the hiding. All that time working away in isolation bleeding into one blurry motion. Of course he was going to try and get lost in another world. Why wouldn't you when you're struggling so much in your own? There is no way I'll believe for a second that the game doesn't know what it's doing here. It knows that people play video games, especially dating sims or immersive RPGs, for the escapism. And right here, it's showing a textbook example of this innocent concept at its most potent. It really is similar to a thought experiment called the Experience Machine. A revolutionary piece of technology is made that allows you to hook your brain up to it, getting lost in whatever pleasures you can imagine. Every single sensation is enhanced, but it's a machine. It's not real. Smoke and mirrors in a world where you have no detectors or reflections. Do you unplug yourself from it and live authentically, warts and all, or stay in its digital embrace? I don't think I really need to point out the connection here. 999 days. That is how long this man has been on the grind for. Over and over again, he's been coding a game or something. Given said code, it kinda seems like this guy made MiSide itself. but that's unlikely because of the fact he's clueless about the game he's been stuck in. I could believe that maybe he did only some brief coding for it, but even then it's hard to believe. Considering Mita has recreated our real life for us, not actually put us back into it, she could just be inserting herself into this in any way she can. What I'm getting at is, the stuff that's on screen may not be a literal example of what his tasks are, but more so meant to represent the concept of coding, file management, etc. Ready to go through another day, we sit down and get ready to lock in. And this is no understatement, I received one of the worst jump scares I think I've ever had in my entire life. I'm not going to play it unsuspectingly because then I'd get sued for manslaughter or something, but Mita popping her head around my peripheral vision like that is not on. It still gets me even when I know it's coming. She looks creepy as hell too, so that doesn't help. Here's my reaction. Oh god. Shit. Despite being told to stop, we dust ourselves off and launch a totally normal app with Mita's face on it called Hello. We shift into a point and click game, where we inspect the objects of our everyday life. After sitting down a few times, hammering home that repetition, we find Mita sitting in our chair. She delves into our head, asking if we find these dreadfully tedious days we're stuck in these walls repeating boring, pointing out how we didn't like the idea of staying trapped in her house, yet we locked ourselves in this one of our own volition, looking for a way out. If only for a while. So are we not still just as trapped? We can refute that by telling her we don't want to be enclosed in a digital prison. It's absurd. She calls our world absurd. It's been flooding with escapism more and more, further disconnecting us from being grounded in it because people are finding it that bad. The grass isn't greener on the other side though, because the residents there are either being murdered or having existential crises, and she's leading the charge. Crazy says ours is worse, that we're crazy for not accepting the hand she gave us to fully seal our escape from our world. By the player burying himself in his bedroom, then so far into the digital world of MiSide, to outrun the terror of the world he stands in, he forgot to appreciate all of the amazing things that come with it too. You can't truly substitute reality. Not forever. It's devoid of people. It lacks long-standing connection, the joys your efforts can yield, and most of all, authenticity. If the player strays too far into Mita's world in an effort to get as far away from the exhausting things in his life as possible, he'll also be losing himself. So even though things out there are looking bad, why run? Why not stay and fight to appreciate your place here? I think you are the crazy one, and I'm happy to help you, as long as you're willing to stay with me. Don't make me accept you as another slave of reality. Just be mine. Truly mine. Stone cold walls surround us as we come to our senses and find our feet. We're in the infamous basement. This time, a prisoner. Not for long though. Kind Mita's come to our aid, freeing us from timeout. And she might have the index we need, and crazy Mita should be too occupied by a new player to notice us skulking around for now. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Let's hang glide out of this loser emporium. Mita, wait for me. Mita? Why? All words escape the player. His faith flattened as though it had been trampled. We've taken another ginormous loss on this mission. Our guide, our friend, is gone. Savagely slaughtered by her demented counterpart. First Cappy, then Mila, and now Kind. Another one that never deserved to go like that. Does that mean our way out's gone? Her body despawns as all us and the player can do is sit and watch, in pure shock. And it's nice attention to detail considering we're in a virtual space that she actually does despawn. And whilst watching this, we're left to process all of what just happened. When I checked the bathroom after I held in the pain, the player's eyes are even heavier than they were before. MiSide, and the painfully long and traumatic journey we've been on in it, has beaten this guy in body and mind. He's been thrown about all over the place, we're still wounded from that feral clanker that bit into us, and he's far past the point of being burnt out. And throughout the story up to this point, his eyes have been a massive indicator of that. And I love that this has been used throughout the game to show that this stuff actually weighs on him, and he's really feeling it, something that more games need to lean into, as a character's body, posture, or just any noticeable physical changes can convey to you more than hundreds of words could. It's why, in my Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough, I was totally nerdy enough to change my character's appearance with each act, to show that time had passed on my wizard's journey, from something as simple as hair growth to having scars and a magic eye. And in Red Dead Redemption 2, I always found myself changing Arthur's clothes between chapters too. Sometimes it's the simple things like that which make all the difference. Seeing our player gradually be wounded and exhausted shows how much he's been fighting for his life and struggling. I find it extra saucy, if saucy also meant depressing, that we look in a similar state as the second player we met early on. Wounded, bags under our eyes, and simply jaded. I honestly couldn't help but notice that this guy was almost a subtle warning as to how we would end up, or if the player wasn't careful and tried to stay in this world, be in an even worse state. We walk to the bedroom and like a steel toe-cap boot to my testicles, kind Mita doesn't remember us. Of course she doesn't. Everything we went through. Poof. What the hell? What am I supposed to do now? There's no way for me to escape. Wait. That's the ring. And what's this? It's the index. So you found it after all. After all that, kind Mita pulled through in the end. Had me in the first half. She did still die, but it's almost like she was prepared for it. From how much stuff Cappy had in her inventory, and now seeing that despite dying, kind Mita managed to keep the note and ring we gave her hidden, it seems like these characters don't lose their inventory on death, or at the very least may be able to keep things that are small enough. This index isn't just scribbles of numbers, these are our ticket out of here. Our boarding station, the core. This is a weird small detail that I'm definitely looking way too much into, but you know, you're like 2.5 hours into my analysis of this, so you can't be surprised, right? I also find the lighting here so noticeably normal. There are none of the exaggerated rays of light or soothing glows of the lamps anymore. It's been reduced to looking like a normal place. Vacant looking. It's not trying to keep you here anymore. Has it ever felt so unfeeling? We tell kind Mita to park her ass on the sofa whilst we, once and for all, reset crazy Mita. The core's keeper seems to be getting sick of our intrusion. Since we're making changes to the game now, it's probably on high alert. And now, she's been reset. Now we just gotta get— oh, wow, you are taller than you looked up there. This Terminator, built like a Soviet T-34, grabs us, taking us off our feet and launches us outside as we crash land back into the living room. In the kitchen, we find the one that started all this. Crazy Mita. Or should I say, not so crazy Mita. She has a much more delicate twinge to her now, having no quarrels with us leaving. Although being a little stumped as to why a player just got here and then randomly asked to leave in the span of 20 seconds. Something Apex Legends players are probably used to when you pick someone's main. If it means we can put this behind us, then so be it. To the front door we go. And time to exit this fever dream. Oh, the door is blocked. Luckily, not so crazy explained, she noticed a basement in her house, housing fancy equipment with tons of codes. Maybe something down there can probably open the door. We head down. This place where we once had to hide from a knife-wielding yandere, and where we first met the kindest Mita of them all, now looking more packed away with boxes everywhere, feeling like a good visual indication that our time here is coming to a close. We look at the terminals, get our ID number, and key it in. And here marks the end of our perilous journey. I suggest, if anyone comes into a large sum of money, you should probably use that for therapy given everything we've been through. I mean, do you remember when we were doing the whole Tamagotchi thing with Crazy Mita that ended up becoming an allegory for the type of relationship she hated? Or beating the shit out of Cappy with a toy hammer? The tragedy of Tiny Mita? It's been a long time coming. But it's time for the player to go back and face that world, warts and all, and try to love it for the abundance of great things out there. Appreciate the authenticity of being human, and not feel the need to constantly drown in something that can't match up to that. And as cheesy as all this may sound, find himself again, by being in that realness. Opening the front door doesn't lead us to an error message or a looping void this time. What's in front of us is a step in the right direction. Literally seeing the light. At this point, giving himself another shot is the least he could do. First, Mita wants a farewell hug before we go. You can stay in this hug as long as you want. There's no timer or anything. You can just take in the moment and relish the goodbye. It's annoying we never got to see more of this Mita. It's conflicting that at this moment, it makes you want to stay a little longer considering she's not trying to turn you into Swiss cheese. The point where staying actually doesn't look like a terrible idea is funny now that it's come up so late. Some good old irony. But personally, I think the player's still gotta go. From the previous chapter and everything he went through, it would just be weird to stay now. It's a shame it never worked out here, but let's try again in the real world. Huh? What do you mean?
だからね、本当ならもっと一緒にいられたのにって私のせいだね。あのクローゼットとあの音、もっと早くあの子を殺せばよかった。
Hold on. Weren't you... How can you remember that?
そううまくいくと思った？本当にバカだね。結局他のプレイヤーと同じ。ほら、ちょうど終わったところだよ。これでリアルの君はもう必要ない。ごめんね。
No way. Did it not work? No, I know we restarted you.
まだわからないの？私の演技、そんなに上手だった？ダーリン、君に自分の表情を見せてあげたいよ。すっごく面白いんだもん。
Why are you like this? What's wrong with you?
そうだね。私に何があったか自分でもわからないよ。どうしてこうなったか君が教えてよ。どうして私は味方になれないの？それはね、私のバージョンはどこにも存在しないから。私はただ無知で愚かな奴らの皮を剥ぎ取って彼女たちの皮をかぶってるだけ。だから私はリセットなんてされないの。
You... I can't believe this. They're not the problem. You're the one who shouldn't exist.
それと君もね。君にそんな風に言われると傷つくよ。でももう時間みたい。すぐにまた会えると思うよ。そろそろ準備が整ったかな。コンソールから君を取り出さなくっちゃ。だね。君はお気に入りのカートリッジにしてあげる。面白い名前のプレイヤーさん。
Wait, we're back? What the hell was that? We somehow escaped. Calling that a relief is an understatement. Hey, is it just me or is the frame rate really slowing down? Absolute cinema. What else do we call this? Let me open up the donut factory and start my glazing shift for a second. It blows my mind how these devs delivered such an impactful story, bundled up in some unrelenting psychological horror, amazing graphics, music, audio, animations, and everything in between. Everywhere you look pops so hard, and I'm convinced I always seem to find something new on a subsequent playthrough. It's just mad. And that ending, the whole time, Crazy Mita, yes she's earned that name back, was wearing the skin of the other Mitas, and was a mannequin dummy thing the whole time. She never got to adapt and get her own skin, so instead she took other Mitas, like the shadowy ghost one we encountered. It's why she couldn't be reset, her instability, the fact that she had to invade Kind Mita's version to pretend it's hers, considering she didn't get one, and maybe even her surprising strength. She was a reject that never got to live or love, and so she used the self-awareness she gained in the shadows after so long to cause chaos, and push her twisted views on other Mitas and players. This twist actually did get me. I really wasn't expecting us to get turned into a cartridge. It's a messed up tragedy, and I've gotta say, it was a ballsy play to end the game this way, reduced to another one of her collection, her favourite one. She was playing 4D chess and checkmated us at the last move. It's rare we get a satisfying the villain wins type of ending. Don't get me wrong, it's genuinely heart-shattering that there is no way to save the other Mitas and ourselves, but we were up against a formidable foe. She outplanned our plan. I can't begin to describe how insane this felt the first time around. What? During the last part of the game, there's such a catharsis in the air. You get the sensation when you know a film is about to leave off on a positive note, but MiSide does the cruel act of giving you that feeling, then ripping it away when you're right at the end. As gut-wrenching as it was to have our ankles flop when we're right at the finish line, there's no sugarcoating it. We learned a lot about the player and how not to walk his path of tragedy. Sure, we won't get literally sucked into a game, but we don't want to close ourselves off constantly in a shallow veil of escapism, assuming it would solve our problems, and then we lose ourselves before we can even get a grasp of where we're at. The way it loops back to the main menu too is chill-inducing. It left me with that wow, I'm so empty feeling that finishing a banger game, film or book does to you. I'll get more into that in a minute, but first, let's talk about this and the other endings, because yes, there are in fact 3 total endings as of right now, and this seems to be the canon ending. I use that term loosely, mainly because there isn't a confirmed canon ending for the game, but considering this is the first and only ending you can get without knowledge of a second playthrough, this is widely agreed upon to be the main ending. Firstly, before Mita became a full-time hater at the wardrobe, you'll remember that there was a locked choice that couldn't be done until we finished the main story and restarted, having to meet certain requirements that veer more towards pleasing Mita and listening to her, not checking the oven or the vents, doing enough minigames with her, and so on. That other option is to stay with her instead of refusing. When we do this, she gets pleasantly surprised as we see ourselves in Tamagotchi form, most likely still becoming a cartridge and sentencing ourselves to stay within her fabricated walls forever. Still not what you'd call a happy ending though, considering we're damned to Mita's will forever, never to see the world again, practically her pet, and going completely opposite to the whole what it means to be real and human narrative tones that the game has had going on. On the other hand, that is what she's wanted the whole time, to just be accepted and loved unconditionally. This ending gives her that with no hassle. This is basically one of those alternate endings that would have prevented the entire game from playing out, like the Far Cry 4 and 5 hidden endings. Simply just siding with the villain, and you all go for some crab rangoon.
The Crab Rangoon, right?
And since we could see the player in chibi form, if this means he's literally turned into one, then this could be a similar thing to what happened with the numerous chibis we saw in the passageways in chapter 5. And speaking of those guys, to me, they either represent the little doubts and energy-sapping thoughts the player has been having, and a little mirrors echoing back what he's thought. Or a more literal answer is that they're stuck between the Tamagotchi and 3D layers of the game, being forever left with the repercussions of choosing to stay here and only being able to verbalize the odd thing or two, as they've been reduced to a lesser being. This specific section is blatantly surreal. As to what it could mean, I've not done enough art school to know. If anything, it's something I don't think we'll truly ever figure out, but that's just how I viewed it. The next ending, that save code, 4970. Yeah, when I said that this was important, I meant it. If we load up the last chapter and try this code when we get to the basement, we get nothing. Maybe this is a metaphor for them. I'm just messing, don't worry. But why is it empty? Well, let's restart the game from an earlier chapter like the basement section and get it open. It reveals the stopwatch Mita showed us during the true ending and a console with a cartridge in it, doing that trippy thing that OBS does sometimes. This is our cartridge being prepared, recording our every move to take us away, showing that this might have just been how crazy Mita managed to find us so many times over the course of the game, going as far back as when we began our walk through waifu hell. The ending scene after being turned into that pink plastic, then looping back to the main menu, works the other way too. When hitting new game, you might have noticed that Mita does something off screen. This was her playing her first chess piece, and loading the cartridge into the console to prepare the process. In a way, no matter what, we were doomed from the start. This is only further proven by the fact that once you get your hands on this console, you can't do anything about it really. As Kind Meat has explained, it doesn't seem like it can be undone once the cartridgeification has started. Totally coining that pointless word. Hit me up, Oxford, and we'll talk. Pulling it out will be a one-way trip to the gulag, and turning it off is still risky as is, but seems to disable the player in question. In this ending, whether it be a desperate attempt to get out of this mess, or definitively end it, the player takes out. Earlier, I described the cartridge in this console as a skewed life support, which I honestly think fits even better given the context of the ending, and makes you realise just how damning it is that the player is unplugging his own life support. Once again, just pure horror. Some more nails in the coffin for you about how Mita had you right where she wanted you is when we first teleport into the version she's in, and turn around to see her pull a Herobrine moment. If we switch to photo mode and watch her behind us, she's pulling her signature wicked grin and reaching her hand out to us, barely able to control herself, before returning back to normal when we turn back around. And the same goes for when we get cyber sick after dinner. Whilst we're being led to the bathroom, Crazy can be seen with that devilish look on her face, knowing we're her unsuspecting prey. You can't even go in photo mode here. You have to literally no-clip via commands to see this one. There's an extra book she has at the top of her shelf when we fly up in photo mode. It's called How to Kill Everyone. We obviously can't see this until you manage to get out of bounds. This can't be viewed in-game normally. We are basically told that Mita was still a mannequin the whole time, being a reject and never getting to develop, because if you're in the main menu and you left click on her, we get sparks, and not the loving kind. Do it enough times and she looks at you, wafting you away. A fairly obvious but fun one is the exit button here will be dodging your mouse, indicating that Mita is pulling some strings to try and keep you here. Successfully pressing exit leads you to the quit the game screen, where we see her sternly peer into your being, and there's a 0.2% chance to get this menu. Since we're talking about weird and scary secrets, the can of worms is open now. I'm also going to throw in the Mimic and Long-Legged Mita. Don't panic, you did eat the right mushrooms. Let me explain. These two things are not canon to the game, and are just there for a bit of spooky flavour, hence why they haven't been mentioned, but they are creepy in their own right, and I'd be having wars with myself at night if I don't mention these. So I'm slipping them in here. The Mimic will appear if you stare in the mirror for about a minute straight during the prologue, and you'll see this slender puppet marionette looking creature tower over you, watching you for a few seconds before leaving. My heart goes out to the brave soldiers that randomly found this and had it haunt their dreams. I do love scares like these that have oddly specific requirements to see them. Makes you feel like you saw something forbidden, weaving more strands into an already detailed game. And if you found this early enough, or if the secret is so obscure and you try looking this up online to get no results, you'll have a strong urge to have your head checked out. It's gonna hit even harder. It's just this messed up thing that you saw, and you feel like you'd have a hard time explaining, making people's playthrough feel a bit more unique and personalised. And long-legged Mita can be seen when going through the passageways. If you keep moving right at the endless hallway, just before you meet kind Mita, you'll see her creepy spindly body pass through the door. Honestly, I still have a hard time figuring out if this one makes me creeped out or laugh. And I don't like it. These little Easter eggs are genius, considering it was always there, we just never knew. And I'd love to just straight up chew your ear off with these for another 20 minutes to get my point across, and honestly just gush over how well detailed the game is. But to stay reasonably on track, a lot of what I mentioned, knowing how we missed it, fortifies why the horror game genre can really make you feel like you're getting hit with existential doom. And it evokes the notion that if we noticed more the first time, maybe this all could have been prevented. None of the endings are what you'd call optimistic. From a certain point of view, the stay with Mita ending has some positive notes to it, but nowhere near enough to justify going through with it as a serious choice, especially given the reasons I mentioned earlier. The safe of life ending is bad in a different way to being trapped and subservient. This one is just bleak. The player choosing to pull his own plug and giving up. What more is there to say? It's an abrupt end with no curtain call in sight, never to be able to try and escape MiSide with a life to live on the other side. And I don't need to drone on about the true ending, that's also just as bitter. It was already too late and a straight up tragedy, how the chance for a better life was right there, quite literally ready to step into the light, only to be shot down, reduced to ones and zeros. And he loses everything about himself. As dark as these are, one of the devs has confirmed that there are going to be more endings coming, and I think it's safe to say that it's most likely going to be a good one, because I'm sure they wouldn't add another bad ending. Which I do welcome, because it was heartbreaking going through all this to then get royally shafted on the way out.
Shut up about my head.
But I also respect it so much for how raw and terrifying it is. I think a good ending would bring me previously unmeasured levels of catharsis though. Yet, seeing the player get lost in the game he tried to escape into feels like a good cautionary tale, I guess.
世界のコアによってローディングされてるの。よくある話でしょ。そうだ。
I mean, what an experience. We've been sucked into a video game, stalked and chased by the product of a horse girl and Hello Kitty girl, ventured through a dangerous liminal void where we met new Mitas with different personalities, nearly got executed by a toy hammer, absorbed depression like a sponge in an oasis, had a psych evaluation, found some meaning in life and a new sense of assertiveness, got our soul trapped in a pink cartridge before we could go and live it. After such a chaotic, surreal, surprisingly wholesome at times, unsurprisingly morbid, weirdly heartfelt yet agonizingly dark journey, the only question left is what does it all mean? Well, I certainly have thoughts, alright. Whether it be intentional or not, what MiSide has managed to convey throughout the course of about 5 hours is breathtaking to me. But the two biggest themes I feel are presented here are escapism and empathy. And watching the trailer does signify it's going to be a horror game, but it really leans into the psychological horror.
MiSide.
Oh my god, it was MiSide this whole time. Rot-row. I might just keep calling it MiSide at this point. It's too weird to change it now. Crazy Mita and the player have a very character-defining thing in common. They're so lonely. It's actually established for both of them from the get-go. At the very start of the game, where the player talks about his sister that's always out and about, and then reminisces about his workmates as though they were a distant memory. Those quotes were making it painfully obvious that he feels alone. But what's more is the fact that I think his insight utters a note of being unseen. In that room, he's practically screaming for a real connection in his life again, just like he clearly had with his work friends. His time with them is a lingering memory. As for his sibling, I think what gets him so down about it is the contrast. She's living a different life to him, going out all the time when he, although voluntarily, is stuck in his room working the time away into a scarily dense blur. I think it's that feeling the player has where seeing people live their best life and posting pictures everywhere and always out doing something, or how it looks at least, makes him feel like he's not doing enough with his life. Mitas, especially Crazy, want players, but as we've seen, some of them want more than that. authenticity. They yearn for the realness of a person and the world, and the player wants the everlasting love and comfort that they live in. Both want what the other has, but he didn't need to stay in this world where most people are nice to him and are enthusiastic with his presence. He didn't need to completely disconnect from reality, he needed to free himself from it, to accept the real world for what it is and face it with a newfound confidence, living with his self-acceptance in the world. It feels like just when that could have happened, when the player in the game thought he fixed Mita, ready to leave, and the player behind the screen was feeling the warmth of a happy ending, it was too late. Our protagonist was already too far in. Crazy became so self-aware that she was jaded and disconnected from her world, loathing the other Mitas and how they're considered proper. Once again, craving the player's realism to pull her out from the pit she's in, that world where its creators treated her as worthless and tried to discard her. Yeah, some of her affection for the player is probably her Mita instinct of being naturally drawn to players, something which Mila also comments on, but I'd bet my left nut, no, both my nuts, that's not entirely the reason she finds him so fascinating. Almost like she wants to try and capture that essence and keep it with her forever, in a pink and portable way, since it's the closest she can get to having something real, considering how she scares off the other players. It always keeps the divide between them and the Metaverse, with how noticeable this theme is unraveled throughout the game, of them having one thing that the other doesn't, and how this affects everyone. Player 2 wanted everlasting love, which his Mita seemed to give him, so he put his life on the line to be a simp. Kind Mita wanted to put a stop to Crazy's reign of terror, and needed the player to do that, but ultimately failed in the end. Cappy is just there for a good time, I guess, and Mila became painfully aware of how she will never be able to live a life outside of her house, something that the player can do. I guess it's like they all want something, but they just can't get it. All those arcade machines and minigames we've encountered on our crusade always served as little distractions, made to shamelessly eat up your time and focus from your objective, appearing at the most inconvenient times, like just before you talk to Kind Mita about a plan trying to reset Crazy. You know, the girl that's been trying to own you forever. Or right after we get off of the Synthwave Express, and Ghost Mita is right behind the door, really going through it, waiting to have her memory repaired. And the player's just like, anyone up for a game of Devil Girl Doom? I can't shake the feeling that these are supposed to be designed this way, playing into Crazy's view. The concept of making things simple, so you don't have to put any effort or thought into things. Little distractions trying to take you away from what's actually important, and the player taking his last steps, walking out of that door, was him not getting distracted anymore too. There's this theory I've seen that is cool in concept and all, but I believe it tramples on what makes this game special. It claims that the player was already a digital version of himself and was cloned, which is, like I said, cool. Except, doesn't that take away a lot of the stakes for the player and not really fuel his motivation for going into the game, due to the isolation and the constant strain of the real world, and then wanting to escape it after realizing the grass is certainly not greener on the other side? And there's certain characters like Crazy and Mila becoming self-aware enough to the point where they want something genuinely real? I feel like with this theory, a lot of the tension and character arcs are kind of nullified. However, of course, this is my own analysis of the game, and a game, mind you, that sparked so much discussion. There truly is a banquet on the table to feast on and spill all down us. Wait, that sounded weird. There are some things the devs have confirmed during FAQ responses to the community, which can help clear up a lot of the obtrusion, such as the player being recorded to a cartridge as opposed to not actually being one from the very beginning, addressing how Mita mannequins turn into flesh and bone, and how they've kept a lot of details about MiSide open-ended. Speaking of, I think the devs, Macon Cat and Umire, not stressing every detail has caused this video to even be possible. So hats off to them for building a world and story so interesting and thought-provoking, staking their place in some banging horror, and overall slaps as hard as Core Mita's backhands. Seriously, you know it's good when we got sucked into obscure details and philosophical boogaloo. At the end of the day, the reason Mita wanted the player, and he clearly wanted someone, probably best girl Mila, is all because of that force they can feel. The warmth of having something real in a world that's all fake. Much like how the player gave the Mitas his time to laugh with them or listen to their troubles. Through that he found genuine companionship with just about all of them. Those Mitas could have settled for any complicit guy, but this one we control has clearly had the biggest impact on them. And past their basic instincts, I like to think that all of them, except for Crazy and Ugly, got some kind of comfort in sharing something real with our boy. As we know, he had to keep going, in pursuit of coming out on the other side in his real world, where unfortunately, the Mitas and him can't do a freeze frame jump into the air and live inside the game together forever, because as we figured out, it can't truly substitute reality, but at least the Mitas gain some of the grounded realness the player has. And like how Mila shows, that's worth protecting. Or as Crazy proves, that weight can also consume you. Maybe there was some good in that psychotic Mita, dare I say humanity, as all she wanted was connection, a scarily core human desire for someone made of ones and zeros. But it got lost in her apathy a long time ago, and by the player trying so desperately to bury himself in the sand, I think he would have sank into a similar toxic pit that swallowed Crazy so much. With all the dangers and formulaic monotony and anxieties that Mitas and players have in their respective worlds, I like to think that by connecting with each other, if only briefly, they got something meaningful out of it. Real empathy. It's honestly weird having to try and end this video and make sure I've squeezed just about everything my brain thinks is important, relevant, and worth sharing about this experience in here. At this point, I don't think it matters how many times I rewrite or edit this ending. I feel like I'm always going to be missing something. I hope it at least does the game some justice and conveys why I think it's worthy of being up there with the greats. You can tell it was made with such passion and a real labour for love, and I think in games, let alone any media, it's so important to have that. It seems to be what sets them apart from the mass amounts of slop that's invading us. The best part is, there's still a surprisingly ridiculous amount of things about it I've simply had to skip over for the sake of both our sanities. I could waffle on about the art style, the graphics, and sound design and music, and analyse every pixel away. Although to be fair, I've been giving the word analyse a run for its money. This analysis got much deeper than I thought, but that's just kind of the way it went when I started laying out the ideas and themes I've noticed in, I need to call it MiSide, not my side, MiSide. That should prove how good the game is though. But I just love when a video game can do this because it's such a unique genre. Brave new statement, I know. It tells this awesome horror story of being trapped inside a game by an unsuspecting anime girl, which you wouldn't think someone like Crazy to do, and the inevitable tragedy of the player never making it out, turning into a much more psychological horror piece in the last act of the game, and living up to that Steam tag. The hidden story of loneliness, regressing into insanity, and someone choosing not to run from their depressive life, but to try and fight their way to a hopeful self-realization and acceptance of a world that's not perfect by any means, but it is candid, and an experience you can only have once, something you can absorb the genuineness of, and ultimately find hope in whilst we can before it's too late and you're sealed in the very thing you tried to escape to. And before people think this is completely against escapism or something, I'm gonna state what I hope I've made obvious. It's not bad. It proves that by having these meaningful stories and interactions with the Mitas that, as I've said, can be looked back upon with mostly fond memories from the empathy you have for these great characters. It's about not trying to only ever bury yourself in this one world, preventing any reflection or growth. A point past engaging immersion, past escaping for a fleeting time of peace. It's about rejecting that extreme of locking yourself away into a monotonous life without grounding and being aware of yourself, and realizing there is also purpose and validity in your life like the player is running from, which is more than worth trying to find. The player ran into MiSide as a great escape from his world before actually getting stuck there, and the entire events of the game seem to emphasize that, as perfect as it may seem, it can only last so long, and really, only be a brief respite. The game never actually breaks the fourth wall and talks to the actual player, instead referring to the in-game player, but it masterfully walks a fine line between the two. Crazy Mita may have gotten the MiSide player, but not the one that played MiSide. No need to run so far that you don't even know where you are or who you are anymore. Sprinting so far from the bad you leave the good that outweighs it behind. Because if you turn and face it, there is something so authentic beyond compare that awaits, that can give you more than choosing to entirely live in that experience machine ever could. It's not an easy path to walk, but it can be well worth the aches. Remind yourself what it means to be real, to be worth your own time and give things another shot, to realise it is worth living here even if it can hurt. To be you.